We'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many out to our meeting tonight. All right, we're going to start with the adoption of the minutes from August the 25th. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved, seconded. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Resolution to amend the agenda. Our corporate officer, Maureen Bucci, you have a couple of amendments to the agenda.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, two housekeeping amendments to the agenda. Item 5.2, which is Bylaw 2014-16, OCP Plan Bylaw Amendment for 6003 Dale Avenue. And item 9.1, which is OCP Amendment to add the Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan. And those will be read and amended when we come to those specific items.
Do you need a motion now?
Yes, yeah, to accept the
Worship
housekeeping.
Council, thank you. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, we're going straight then to the public hearing. It appears that there are two public hearings, so I'm going to ask our Director of Development Planning to just explain why there are two, and then I'll read you the document that you have to.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. There are two bylaws listed on the agenda. They're both exactly the same amendment to do with the Dale Avenue development. One is amending our OCP that's currently in effect today, and the other one will be held at third reading if the bylaw moves forward, and it's amending the OCP copy that is with the Land Commission at the moment. So every time we do an OCP amendment from now on, we have to amend both those documents.
Okay, so now for the public hearing statement. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act. The purpose of this hearing is to consider certain bylaws which, if adopted, will amend Summerland Official Community Plan, Bylaw 2000-310, and/or Summerland Zoning Bylaw 2000-450. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that are subject to this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaw have been made available to the public. I would like to invite the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded to all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. During the public hearing, council may ask questions of staff and the public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff should be for clarification purposes only. So just before we get started, I know that there was some information that came by mail or email, so I'll ask our corporate officer, Maureen Bucci, just to give us some background on who sent what.
Yes, I will. Thank you, Worship. I received 8 written submissions from the public, and this will form part of the public hearing record. I'll just quickly go over who has submitted these. Creighton Smith, 6019 Nixon Road, is opposed to the development. He's concerned with the amount of the proposed RSD1 lots, increased traffic and congestion in the area. Debbie Edge of 523 Miller Street, she supports the proposed development, and she believes that the development of the land offers a modern community with thoughtful planning and pleasing homes. Derek Brown, Trout Creek resident, supports the proposed development. Tony Brown, 5608 Ash Avenue, supports the proposed development. Great vision for future development of this land. Majed and Lori Sayed support the proposed development. Project will benefit both the local community of Trout Creek and the District of Summerland. Bob and Phyllis Wise of 519 Miller Street supports the proposed development. Feels this is a substantial improvement and will increase the tax base for the district. Rick Hill of 5809 Dale Avenue is in favor of rezoning the property from agriculture to residential, providing that the lots adjoining or in close proximity to existing properties be 1/4 acre, and lots not adjoining existing lots could be reduced in size to 1/6 of an acre. Mary Trainer, 528 Miller, She is concerned with the conservation of Summerland's heritage and requests an archaeological assessment of 6003 Dale Avenue.
Okay, that's it. All right, our Director of Development Services, Ian McIntosh, could you give us a short synopsis of the issue for the public?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is a property in Troll Creek. I'm sure everyone knows where it is. It's currently designated as agriculture on our official community plan, and it is currently zoned that way as well. And the proposal is to amend the community plan and rezone the parcel to a combination of RSD1, RSD2, and RSD3 lots, which are our residential lots. So that is essentially what we're here to discuss, and I do have some other slides if there are questions.
Okay, and you do have the first speaker is the proponents,
The proponents are here, and they do have a short presentation if that pleases council.
which is customary given a public hearing of this type. So would you introduce him for me, please?
Sure, this is Brad Alenko. He's a planning consultant for the developers.
Thank you, Mr. Lanko. I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, my name is Brad Alenko. I live in Osoyoos, 19433 95th Street in Osoyoos, and I'm a planning consultant for the developers.
Nice and loud. Nice and loud.
Move forward a bit?
Yes.
There we go.
Just feel free to, yeah.
Okay, the first slide I'd like to just show Mayor and Council is the area in green outlined on the slide is area that's in the ALR. Area that's yellow is not in the ALR, and the area that's in yellow is actually the current growth area in the official community plan. Now, you're not going to be able to read that, so I'm going to read it for you. We'd like to present to Council, I'm sure you're aware, we had 2 open houses over the past year and a half. The District of Summerland Mayor and staff encouraged the developer to obtain comments and opinions on the proposed development from the neighborhood residents. As a result, 2 open house opportunities were held to provide the neighborhood opportunities to view their proposed development of the property and provide their comments. The first open house was held on January 30th of 2013, where approximately 50 people attended. 26 people provided comments, and a majority of the responses from the public indicated that multifamily development was not supported. The development plans were adjusted in accordance to the public's comments, and a second open house was held on June 25th of this year, with approximately 35 people attending. At the second open house, 21 individuals provided comments, with the greatest reoccurring comment being a desire for larger lots, and the second greatest reoccurring comment was support for the development. There was an overriding sense of appreciation that multifamily lots were not being proposed. Adjustments were made to increase lot sizes, and the current development proposal now provides larger lots in accordance with the public's comments. This particular slide is the most recent amendment that we did do in consideration of the request for larger lots. The area adjacent to Okanagan Lake is RSD3. There's 4 pods of RSD2 and 2 pods of RSD1. What's interesting is in terms of percentage, out of the 3.24 hectares, the total area of the land, 21.8% is RSD1, and 28.9% RSD2, and 28.1% RSD3. So just in summary, 72% of the residential land will be zoned RSD2 or RSD3. This next slide, Mayor and Council, is just a image of the proposed subdivision showing the planned landscaping, the parking pockets, sidewalks, and boulevard plantings that are proposed in the development. This slide shows cross-section across an area or across 2 or 3 areas in the development that show the unique parking pockets, the landscape boulevards, and the sidewalks that are going to be provided. There's 2 entrances to the site, one on Johnson Street and the other on Dale Avenue. The developers are proposing to enhance both of those entrances with some stone and rock entrance signage. There's also a plan to try to maintain as best they can on Woods Avenue the existing roses and the natural or the existing fencing that's on that street. In terms of support for the proposed development, the District of Summerland's OCP supports the development of the subject property for residential use. Planning for the residential development occurred with consultation with the District of Summerland and neighborhood residents through input received from 2 public open house opportunities. The Advisory Planning Commission provided strong support for the proposed development. The developer is offering a generous $100,000 community amenity contribution in addition to the required 5% cash in lieu of park contribution, which could be in excess of $300,000, which could be used for to improve local parkland for the existing and future residents. In addition, the developer has agreed to provide additional land for Woods Avenue road widening. Thank you. And will upgrade Johnson Street to a full urban standard, including a sidewalk from Nixon Avenue to Woods Avenue. The new residential development will offer a variety of single-family residential lots, with the majority of the land, approximately 72%, providing RSD2 and RSD3 sized lots. The proposed development will feature attractive and innovative street parking and eco-friendly stormwater management techniques. In the past 2.5 years, enrollment in the Trout Creek Elementary School has declined by approximately 15%. It's anticipated that the new residential development will offset this decline and stabilize enrollment in the school. The developer will prepare a building scheme or design guidelines for the proposed single-family residential development that will ensure that all homes constructed have high aesthetic value, which will enhance the overall appearance of the Trout Creek neighborhood. And Mayor and Council, the developer intends to commence construction of the subdivision as soon as all permits are in place, which is anticipated to be in 2015. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, and I will submit this presentation into the public record.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll now go on to the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak to this particular issue, please feel free to come forward just in a timely fashion. It's who's ever there first. Give us your name and address, please. And
Mayor Polino and councillors, my name is Larry Lund. I live at 4593 Lakeside Road in Penticton. I'm one of the partners in this development. I'll just give you a bit of background on our rationale and how we got to the point that we're at today. We're very excited about this project. We feel it is a well-planned, socially responsible, quality project, which we think is compatible with the Trout Creek community. As most people here are aware, we have been very concerned about the compatibility of the project and how it'll impact the community. In an effort to receive feedback from the community, we have held 2 open houses, public open houses. These open houses were very well attended and were extremely helpful to us in gaining feedback from the community, which then helped us in our planning. So 2 reoccurring comments were, 1, the community was adamant in not wanting multifamily and townhouses. We respected that wish of the community, and we eliminated those multi-family houses from our original plans. The second concern was the lot sizes. There were concerns about the number of RSD1 lots. So working with the Summerland planner, Mr. Ian McIntosh, we reduced the number of RSD1 lots. Several of these lots that remain are in fact very close to RSD2 lots. So the size, if we look at the lots individually, they're very close. In actual fact, if all the lots in the project were changed to RSD2, there would only be two more lots under the RSD1. So as you can see, this isn't a high impact situation with the RSD1 lots. There would only be 2 more if we changed the entire, 2 less if we change the entire development. The other thing about the smaller lots, they do provide an affordable option for some families to live in a very desirable community. And I think in consultation with the Summerland planner, that's the way communities are developing now. They're getting away from the large lots and to provide an option for a more affordable lot in the community. The third concern was the school children's safety on Johnson Street. This has been an ongoing concern in the neighborhood, and that was come out of our public hearing, our public open houses, that this was a concern. Again, working with the planner, Ian McIntosh, we came up with a workable plan to make this a safer environment for the school children. We're going to upgrade Johnson Street from Woods Avenue to Nixon Road, the entire distance of the Trout Creek School property. This upgrade will provide a wider street with room for parking to drop off students, and also there will be a sidewalk which will provide students with a safe and convenient way for arriving to and departing from school. Currently, as we know, that this is a problem down at the Trout Creek School of students arriving and departing. I would also like to point out that the Advisory Planning Commission, at a well-attended meeting, voted overwhelmingly to support this project as it was presented. The feeling of the APC was that this project conformed with the present community structure, and the project was a very good use of the land. And that was important to the APC, that this 8-acre parcel was utilized to the fullest, and they felt that this was a very good use of it. In closing, I'd like to suggest that we've done everything possible to accommodate the wishes of the neighborhood. We have worked many hours with the Summerland planner and the surrounding neighbors to ensure that this project conforms with the wishes of the community, the planner, Summerland Council, and the Advisory Planning Commission. So we feel we've gone above and beyond in making sure that everybody's wishes were taken care of in this project. As a final note, we feel it's important for you all to know that 3 of the 4 partners in this project are building homes here and will be living in the community on a full-time basis. One of the partners also currently lives in Trout Creek. He'll be moving over there. And 2 other partners are going to be building homes and living there. We see this as a very socially responsible project, and we sincerely hope that Summerland Council will approve the rezoning application tonight, as we are very excited about starting this project as soon as possible.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Lund. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Christopher Boisvert-Gilman, for clarification for the mayor, because last
Yes,
time
I
you
messed
didn't
it
get
up.
it right.
Can you just say it again for me? Just
Boisvert-Gilman is my last name, although my master name, before I got married, was Gilman of Gilman Road in Summerland.
Oh, really? Okay.
I now live on 23411 Garnet Valley Road. Longtime resident Vern Larson on Johnson Street in Trout Creek shot and killed a bobcat. What wildlife are being driven out by this council for development? What plans has this council put in place for the animals? What animals are there that are going to be dramatically affected by this development? And if you could, name them. Who and how did council collect the information of the makeup of the wildlife? What organization did you go to? What names and what process was done? At the first and second readings prior to this public one, and that was the last one that we had, why did council not publicly discuss the makeup of the animal habitat? I spoke to a lady tonight in that area, and she mentioned about the bats, the otter, and the bear, not to mention the quail and the owls and all the other littler animals that'll be impacted. Please, I would like you to comment on, 1, will all properties be permitted to infill at a later date, or are any of the properties allowed to have carriage housing? Are the smallest lots allowed to go to the property edge? How high will these houses be allowed to go? How small of a structure is permitted so as to add a live-in secondary structure on any of these lots? Other recently developed areas in Trout Creek, and I'll refer you to Landry Crescent for $889,000, have cookie cutter housing. What guarantees have the developers signed or are required to sign to prevent this? What theme will the developers follow? The Nevada style of the Summerland signs as you enter Summerland? The California style, or will it be the Tudor style of downtown? Trout Creek has beautiful, rich soil. Does this council plan on introducing foreign vegetation and trees, or has this council directed the developers to plant vegetation and trees that are native to this area? I worked at the Summerland Research Station in both the tree area as well as in the vegetation area in the gardens. Has this council secured assurance from the developers that indigenous plants and trees will be used? Has an arborist ever been consulted about this area? What trees are going to be removed? And there are a lot of them there. I have pictures, and it's amazing. In other jurisdictions, when a tree is removed by a developer in the development stage that we're at right now, they must replace that tree and put a financial contribution towards that. Are the developers allowed to remove any of the rich soil and replace it or swap it, which is not necessarily a good word, but swap it with poorer soil? What guarantees are there that this will not be the situation? Finally, I oppose, obviously, this development until all of these concerns have been addressed. But I have one last question. Will the road infrastructure fit into Summerland's road rebuilding program? I think of Graham and Blair Street. I think of Switchback Road, Nesbitt and Washington Avenue, just to mention only a few. I look forward to a detailed response. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next. Next. Thank you.
Hi, Jim Morrison, 521 Miller Street. I'm one of the developers, and I just thought, I made a few notes. I thought I'd answer some of the key points just made by the speaker. We did have a consultant, Ms. Allison Pete, a registered professional biologist, I believe, come to the site with the planner, Mr. Ian McIntosh, and a few others. And as a result of that, we decided that we would place so wildlife trees were identified, popular trees, which are important for birds, etc. So they will be identified in a covenant placed on title to protect those trees, similar to another subdivision that was recently passed in Summerland. You spoke about animals, etc., that I suppose would have their homes dislocated. I've lived in Trout Creek for 6 or 7 years. We did see one bear in that time. There's a few skunks, there's some raccoons. Actually, there's a lot of rats, which are small critters, maybe been spoken, and we are making some steps to take away some of the habitat on this property where a lot of the rats in Summerland come from. Not just a fact, and I live there, so I can say that. Yes, you talked about cookie cutter. I think if the planner could just go to the subdivision, I don't think this is a cookie cutter subdivision. It's curved roads with cul-de-sacs. I think it's going to be one of the more pleasing subdivisions you've seen in the South Okanagan. Another question that came up, infrastructure. Obviously, what we did is we talked to the engineers at Summerland, and from a sewer, domestic water, and electricity, there is existing infrastructure in place. None of it needs to be upgraded. In fact, our fees that we put in towards this project will help Summerland. So I thought I'd hit those key points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. If I could just ask for the applause to be kept down. Wait till the end. You can do it then. It's just that it allows everyone to give their point of view, no matter what side they're on. We want to hear it all tonight, so go right ahead. Your name, sir.
Yes, my name is Art Moore. I live at 5611 Woods Avenue, which is about a block from the proposed development.
Yes.
I'm firmly opposed to the rezoning in its present form because of the tiny lot sizes proposed under the RSD1. I didn't realize how small those RSD1 lots were until today. I drove along South Victoria past, got the address here somewhere, 1014, I think, no. Anyway, there's a development on South Victoria almost to James Lake that has that size lot. It's actually a strata development, but the lots in it are the RSD1 size lots, and they are tiny. And the houses are cramped one over the other like a bunch of pie wedges. I just don't see that as being appropriate at all for the Trout Creek area, where the average lot size is probably in the area, the average lot size, not including the large estate lots on the waterfront, is probably about 800 square meters. And we're having proposed to us, again, other than the waterfront lots, lots that vary from 450 square meters up to 600 or 700 square meters. There was a comment by the first speaker that the RSD1 lots were very close in size to being RSD2. Well, I came over to City Hall this afternoon, and unless there are changes made, the information I saw showed that most of the lots were in fact around 450 and 500 square meters, which is the minimum RSD lot size. And as I say, I really don't think that's appropriate for the Trout Creek area. I think it's going to devalue a lot of the lots in the area. Even if the lots in the development were limited to RSD2 size, they would be much smaller than most of the lots in the Trout Creek area. As I understand it, it is permissible on an RSD1 lot to build either a carriage house or a separate suite in addition to the main house. Perhaps that could be clarified. But if that's the case, we're really talking about cramming a lot of buildings into a very, very small space and not adding at all to the nature and the character of that area. So just trying to sum up, the effect of cramming all of these lots into this space would result in a visually ugly conglomeration of houses, despite the pretty pictures we just saw. A significant change in the character of the Trout Creek community. Significant increases in traffic that a simple change in one block of Johnson Avenue will not solve. And of course, significant devaluation of the value of existing houses in the area, and presumably a devaluation in the amount of taxes that are collectible. So I would reluctantly support this proposal if the minimum zoning was RSD2, but I just can't see the RSD1 being appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. And who would like to speak next?
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name is Vic Jensen. I live at 705 Miller Street in Trout Creek near the proposed development. My wife and I moved to Trout Creek about 25 years ago, and we chose to live there because of the nature of the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood, the large lots, spacious neighborhood, mature landscape. And I would think that a lot of people that live in Trout Creek moved there for that reason. And as the proposal stands with the RSD1 lots, I see it being the density changing progressively throughout the neighborhood. And I don't think that would be in keeping with some of the language in our OCP, which suggests that where intensification does occur, that it should maximize the opportunity to integrate with the existing neighborhood. And I don't see RSD1 doing that at all. The good news, perhaps, is that the RSD3 lots are quite large, and you could take a bit off those and turn some of the RSD1s, or maybe all of them, into RSD2. So I think with some careful planning, the opportunity exists to increase the number of RSD2 lots. I don't think that if this proposal was put forward for Deer Ridge or Sumac Ridge, infrastructure permitting, that the community there would welcome it either. My second concern is that of Powell Beach Park, and it's a local gem. It really is a beautiful spot for the community in the summer. And to have 11 houses staring over the back fence into the park will significantly change the privacy and the beauty of our best recreational feature of our community. And I think every effort has to be made with the planning department and the developer to ensure that there's an adequate buffer of vegetation between the park and the development. There is valuable habitat there, not just for rats. I think, you know, I disagree with Jim on that point. I think that's a bit of a red herring. But even if there are some rats in the area, they're throughout the community. That's a fact. And as the residential development proceeds there, that issue will diminish significantly. So I suggest that perhaps there's an opportunity for some community planning around some way to maximize the potential changes that might affect that park in our community. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Debbie Edge. I'm 523 Miller Street.
Yes.
And I did write a supporting letter, and I'll just go over some of the highlights without being too lengthy.
That's okay.
I, of course, along with everyone else, have reviewed the plans that developers have put forward and been to all the open houses. And this is the things that struck me as being strong points. Development of the land offers a modern community, and I thought it was thoughtful and aesthetically pleasing houses. There's well-designed vehicular and pedestrian access to the development, non-invasive street lighting, which is a concern when you do live in what I call a rural area. The lighting is not going to be an issue for any of the surrounding community. Privacy barriers surrounding the project as proposed are more than adequate, and they maintain that rural feeling of the community, I feel. They're well-placed and a safe Powell Beach access, as you can see on the plans, will provide for the residents within the development and us people outside the development a very safe access to that beach. It encourages uplift of the waning Trout Creek school population without increasing the need for busing outside the community. I know we all talk about the traffic. Well, if we're trying to encourage people to come to the school, if they're not living there, they're going to have to bus there. So to me, it's sort of it's a win situation to have people living there, sending their kids to school that can walk there. I've dealt with Mr. Morrison in Wildstone Construction in the past. I was in the final phase of the Skaha Benches, which is a community in the south end of Penticton. And my experience with this project was that it was extremely positive. The planning and completion of the property was exceptional. The attention to detail and the pride in construction was very evident. Mr. Morrison continued with over-delivering on post-construction services and warranties. This, I feel, is strong for this new development. I'm also encouraged that the principal investors in the development are taking up residence in there. It's very rare that that happens, and this affords an enormous comfort factor to the current and the future property owners for accountability and consideration of our neighborhood, having the principal owners living there. In summary, I feel the development will add to the reputation of Trout Creek and Summerland as a whole as being one of the top communities to reside in the Okanagan Valley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Edge. That's great. Next speaker, please. Thank you. Hi.
Mayor and Council, my name is Angela Such. I'm here to speak for George and Margaret Such, who are the property owners at 706 Miller, which is this corner lot right here, where the new road will be backing onto. George and Margaret purchased their property as their retirement retreat and have enjoyed the peaceful quiet that having an orchard behind them provides. They've accepted the fact that Mr. Morrison and company have the right to purchase and develop their property. You can't hold back progress. And all they asked for was a compromise so that they could continue to enjoy their privacy. At the open house on June 25th, we determined through the proposed drawings that the Johnston Road extension will back directly onto the property of 706 Miller Street and will impact the peaceful enjoyment George and Margaret have had for many years. During and after the installation of the services, roadway, and construction of homes in the subdivision. So in discussion with Mr. Morrison, who at the open house, Representative himself as one of the developers, agreed to the following concessions to ensure that George and Margaret will have continued enjoyment and privacy on their property. We forwarded a letter to Mr. Morrison through Brad Alinko on June the 28th. George confirmed from Mr. Morrison through a discussion at the District of Summerland Advisory Planning Commission meeting on Friday, July 18th, that he had received the letter, and he told George personally that he agreed to everything stipulated in the letter. So my father-in-law is at an age where a man's word or handshake is his bond, but in this day and age, we know that a man's signature, legal binding contract is what gets the work done as agreed to. So we're just asking Mr. Morrison, as a representative of the developer, to please state for the record that all the items that were presented to him and now will be presented shortly to council is agreed to and to make part of public record with the minutes of this meeting, so George and Margaret can have peace of mind throughout the planning and construction stages of the 60003 Dale Avenue development. Did you want me to read the concessions or just hand in the letter to make it part of the record?
If it's brief, I'd like to hear it because it's hard to know what we're talking about. So,
Okay, so for the record, the following are the items agreed to by Mr. Morrison. Installation of a 6-foot solid privacy fence built along the property line to be constructed during the beginning stages of construction, installation of services in respect to their Such's continued privacy. Dense growing trees or shrubs will be planted along the green belt, which would be next to the privacy fence and paving stone walkway with path to create a privacy and sound barrier. Install all required services, sewer, water, or electrical at 2 locations along 706 Miller property line adjacent to the Johnson Road in the event that George and Margaret, as the property owners, may choose to subdivide in the future. Developer will ensure all existing plants, ornamental trees, hedging, and shrubbery on 706 Miller Street property will be protected and preserved during the construction of the roadway and installation of services, and that they agreed that if any are damaged, developer agrees to replace all plants, ornamental trees, hedging, shrubbery with the same size and type, and that the timeline for replacement is no more than 3 months after the damage has occurred or as the growing season permits. And all the points that were stated above would be agreed to between all parties, viewed by legal counsel, and will be stipulated to in a legal binding contract provided at the expense of the developer.
all done.
And I will hand this in to part of the record.
Thank you so much, Ms. Such. That's great.
And just for the record, Jim Morrison, I agree to all above, and I'm old school, my word's my word, okay?
Thanks, Ian. Thank you, Ms. Such. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Sherry Lund, and I live at 908 Johnson Street.
Yes.
I am opposed to the rezoning application for 6003 Dale Avenue, as it includes RSD 1 lots. I would support it, however, if it was limited to RSD 2 and 3. Currently, there are no RSD 1 lots in Trout Creek. My husband and I chose Trout Creek as our neighborhood because of the feel of the neighborhood, the large lots and open spaces. When this matter was discussed at the Advisory Planning Commission, I heard it mentioned by one of the sellers that Surrey has several of these similar-sized lots and suggested that there was nothing wrong with this. We are not Surrey, and I think that not only Trout Creek, but the town of Summerland prides themselves on not being an overcrowded city with high crime rates and busy streets. My concerns with allowing RSD 1 lots to be part of this development is what it will do to the image and feel of Trout Creek. Right now, when we walk through our quiet neighborhood, we admire these good-sized lots with family homes. The traffic is minimal, enough so that I feel safe, allowing my 4- and 6-year-olds to ride their bikes without constantly worrying about the cars coming around the corner. This new neighborhood would increase the traffic flow substantially. I consider my family to be an average family, 2 working adults and 2 children, involved in a variety of activities. I would estimate that we have a vehicle leave or return to the property approximately 6 to 8 times a day. This would be a conservative estimate. If this new development went through with approximately 30 lots expected, that would mean approximately 210 more vehicle trips, most likely down Johnson Street as it's the easiest access point. Johnson Street is a narrow road that goes through a school zone currently without sidewalks or paid crosswalk guards. I did recently read the plans to widen Johnson Street between Nixon and Woods, which I understood would be required, and that there was mention about sidewalks on either side of Johnson Street. I would like clarification about what parts of Johnson Street would be included with these sidewalks. I've already watched people speed down Johnson Street to the intersection with Woods at all times of the day. I can only imagine what will happen when that goes through at that intersection and as the road gets wider. As you can imagine, the entire area gets very congested during peak drop-off times at the school. If that same lot on Dale Road only had RSD2 and 3 lots and maybe about 20 homes, this would reduce the number of vehicle trips to 140. That is a considerable amount less. Another concern I have about the general feel of my neighborhood. When I walk around my neighborhood, it feels good. There are lots of room. People are enjoying their homes and they take pride in them. Everyone stops to say hello and talk about living in such a beautiful place. I think it would be strange to walk into a part of that same neighborhood where the houses are closely packed together. I would feel as though I walked into a city center and not a quiet community. It has been suggested that there needs to be more affordable family housing in our area. My husband and I have worked hard to afford to live in Trout Creek, but we are not rich, we do not come from money, and I would consider us an average family, so I know that there are those opportunities already in Trout Creek without having to build houses on such small lots. I love my home, I love my community of Summerland, and specifically Trout Creek. I plan to raise my family here and get old here. I'm not opposed to sharing it with others or to the development of it, as some have suggested. I think that the development has to be done with careful consideration to the overall picture, not just the bottom line of how much the property owners can get by developing what's left of their land after they live on the lake, or of the taxes that are to be made there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I just ask your last name again, and I apologize?
Lund.
Is it okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. Next speaker.
Mayor Janice and council and everybody listening and watching. My name is Marcia Dean, and I live at 5611 Woods Avenue in Trout Creek. I am speaking against the motion to rezone the Dale Avenue property to RS1. In 2002, my husband and I purchased our Trout Creek property and moved here. The home that we purchased and all others in Trout Creek are RS2 or larger. Part of the reason for our purchase was the family-sized lots of ours and our neighbors. Another reason we bought here was that it was a residential neighborhood with orchards dotting it. Both then and now, there are no lots in Trout Creek that are in the RS1 designation. A subdivision of RS1 buildings will affect the property values in the rest of Trout Creek. By approving small lot sizes, a precedence will be set. A neighborhood with RS1 houses will create less revenue than the RS2 houses that currently make up most of the neighborhood. Property values in RS2 zoned homes will fall, and all that lovely taxation will be washed away. I'm also opposed to the development of this resort-like cottage residences because the people who build or buy, there'll be small houses. And so I think that most of them will buy them as a cottage rather than permanent residences. And if so, they're not likely to become community members. They will not be supporting Summerland businesses year-round. They will not be part of the large community of volunteers living in our community. They will not be part of the support system of our community. I also am very concerned about the traffic on Johnson Street. Currently, many parents drop off their children close to the school. It is already highly congested in the morning and after school. Widening Johnson Road, putting in sidewalks will not address this issue. I thank you for listening to my concerns, and I hope that they will be part of your decision-making process.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. That's great. Thank you. Next speaker. Hi.
Hi.
I know it's a bit of a dip for you.
There we go. Yeah, my name is Peter McIntosh, and my address is 2018 Sandpiper Lane in Penticton. So I'm not part of your community, but I would like to be.
We'd like that.
Yeah, so my comments are, Trout Creek is a gem. A lot of I think the problem is no one wants to leave, and sometimes it is hard to move there. There's like I said, no one wants to leave. There's very expensive houses for sale, but a subdivision like this would allow someone like myself. I have a family of 5, so I have 3 kids that are 14, 11, and 9. And it would give us a price point to actually, move to the community and be able to build a house that we'd like and enjoy Powell Beach and be part of the community. We have friends that are there, and they've been lucky enough to move there. And so, I think that as an outsider wanting to be part of your community, something like this would be fantastic. Our situation, we wouldn't be a cause. We would want to be part of the community. Who wouldn't want to be? We had Sunday afternoon on Powell Beach, and sitting there going, "Oh my goodness, it's beautiful here," right? So I guess maybe just from someone outside looking in, it would be a great chance to be part of your community, and we'd love to do that. So that's the only comments I had.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. That's great. Next speaker, please.
Your Honor,
Hi.
councilors.
Nice to have you here.
My name is Milton Norris, 5618 Nixon Road, where I have the pleasure every day of listening to the children going to school, giggling, screeching, and having a lot of fun. I agree with a lot of the previous speakers that RSD1 sounds like one of the developments, having lived 33 years in Toronto, that really creates a very kind of jammed up, and I would really support the idea of the RSD2, I guess it is. But my main concern, when I moved here, we had a choice. Was it going to be Penticton or Trout Creek? And we chose Trout Creek for many reasons, many of which have been expressed. But the main one for me is the park. And somebody said, in the summertime, no. I walk that park every single morning of the year, other than if there's a blizzard, which there hasn't been yet in 5 years. And it's crowded. There are people there walking their dogs, walking their kids, walking their husband or their wife or whatever, having a really fine time. It's absolutely a gem, and it's one of the reasons we chose to live here. And I just wanted to be assured by the developers and by the City Council that there would be no access into that property from along the beach, along here. That all the access would be on those roads. So there'd be no car access or public access into any of this property along the line by the beach. And I think that's true. Is it? Yeah. Well, there's one walkway. I'm okay with that, yeah. Because they'll bring their dog, and I always have biscuits for them. But the thing that I want to be sure is that there's not an overview. Like, I don't want a bunch of houses peering down on the beach. It's a very personal, private, beautiful setting. And I like the idea of at least a 6-foot wall with a lot of vegetation that keeps the beach separate and a very public and beautiful space, and not kind of overwhelmed by looking up and saying, oh my gosh, look at all the houses there. So I would like to see a very clear expectation and agreed to that there would be that separation between the beach and the housing development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orris. Next speaker.
Hello. My name is Eric Thompson. I live on Woods Avenue. I'm about a block away from the proposed development at 6003 Dale Avenue. I'm here tonight to let council know that I am firmly opposed to the OCP zoning amendment application in its present form, because I believe the small lots proposed for the development are inappropriate for the area, as many people have stated tonight. In May of this year, when council was discussing a variance permit needed for an infill lot on Howes Crescent, Councillor Lloyd Christopherson said, any decision must consider the existing area, and he said, quote, I think there has to be some respect to the character of the neighborhood, end quote. That was in the Summerland Review, May 29th. And I think it's a very good point. In my opinion, this development in its current form is urban sprawl. It's rural densification, not urban densification. It is also not accurate to call it affordable housing, because affordable housing probably isn't around $500,000 that I know of. I'm thinking affordable housing is less than that for people who are trying to buy their first home. I could be wrong. I am respectfully asking the developers to present a third version of their proposal, one that does not include RSD1 lots. The decision council makes tonight will affect Trout Creek forever, and it will change our neighborhood forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Next speaker.
Good evening, I'm Norman Jay. I live at 5610 Woods Avenue, about a block away from the development. I just want to go on record as saying that I oppose the development as long as we have the RSD1 size lots. I think they're too small, too many people in a small area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Rick Hill, 5809 Dale Avenue.
And you know we got your letter too.
Okay.
Thank
So I just want to reiterate and state that I am not in favor of the RSD1 lots. We have lots of trees in Trout Creek, and I don't believe that these small lots will allow trees to be built as windbreaks. Trout Creek sticks out in the lake a long way, and the winds down there are tremendous. So I'm just not in favor of it right now unless they change the RSD1 to RSD2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council. Sam Elia, 13811 Phillips Avenue. And I would like to express the fact that I think this is a good proposal and I would support it. I think there's a lot of valid comments that have been made tonight. Some of them are probably more relevant to the development permit process. But in terms of the OCP and the land use thereof, I think this proposal has great merit. And I'll give you the 4 or 5 bottom line reasons why in my mind. I think first of all, it's a better use of the land and of the lake. I think there's a much needed support for the school that this proposal offers. Number 3, I think it's a very good benefit to the local infrastructure and improvements, much needed improvements to road, sidewalk, a lot more vegetation. Fourthly, I think it's obvious that it'll be an improvement to the tax base. And fifth, I think it fits into part of the infill strategy. Again, a lot of the issues that came out about vegetation and privacy issues and whatever, I think will probably be spoken to at the development permit process. But on that note, when that time does come, I too can also attest to the quality of this developer. I have firsthand experience with him in constructing a commercial property and the respect that he has to the environment and to the neighborhood. So, but that will save that for a later day. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you back in council chambers, Councillor. Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Mark Mellison. I live in Penticton, BC. So I've also got a young family. I'm in my early 30s, very active in the community, volunteer for several organizations. I sit as a director for the chamber in Penticton as well. I would like to be one of the buyers of one of these lots, and very likely one of the RSD ones. We would be moving my family out here, which is, I've got 3 kids, Madeline, who's 6, Nash, who's 5, and Georgia, who's 3. And I have seen the plans. I'm definitely in favor of the layout, the development of the roads. I think I would have no problem with my children walking to and from the school. I also think it'll be done tastefully, and that tasteful houses can still be put on RSD1 zoning. I'm also a proponent that it is affordable for younger families, not just young professionals, but families with kids, and I think it'll be a good thing for the school. and the surrounding parks. So I'm definitely in favor of it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker. Hi.
My name's Tony Brown, and I live in Trout Creek. I've lived there for 30 years. And we, as a young family, brought our children up there. And one thing I've noticed about Trout Creek in my older years is all of those young children aren't around anymore. Seems that the young families have disappeared from Trout Creek because it's not an affordable area. I think this is a wonderful project for the area, and to bring young families back to that spot, back to the spot. I think one thing that nobody has addressed is they're concerned about the density of the RSD1 lots, but look at the green space that is around that area. We've got the beach, we've got a park, and we've got a school ground. So it's not like there's a density of homes going into an already very dense area of homes. And I think as far as us thinking that lots shouldn't be below a certain size is a little bit like, okay, we're here, we've got this, and we don't want to see anybody else that can't have what we have come to our area. We certainly need to be providing options for people who can't necessarily afford to come to what we already have there. So I also would like to say that I've seen some of the projects that these owners have, or potential owners have done, and they're all first class, and they all really care about what's going in there. So I think the worry about us looking over built there could maybe be addressed from a building perspective. Maybe there needs to be some regulations put on the size of the buildings, but as far as the density of the lots, I don't think that's necessarily the problem there.
Okay, good thing. I apologize, I think I missed your address.
5608 Ash Avenue.
Good. Thank you so much, Mrs. Brown, that's great. Okay. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Hi, my name's Shannon Ferlitza of 15006 North Victoria. We have a business in town, and as a business person, I really feel that it's really hard to make a living here, and it would be nice to see more development where we get more families to support us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Hi.
Mayor and Council, Randy Gallagher, my wife Karen, we live at 6020 Nixon Road. We've lived in the community now for 18 years, and we're in favor of the development. Again, knowing Mr. Morrison's past developments, the fact that 3 of the 4 developers are going to personally live in the area, I think speaks volumes for what we have to look forward to down there. And just wanted to let you know we're in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. That's great. Next speaker.
My name is Marilyn Hanson, 7611 Oak Avenue. You heard the people who mostly live in the area, not the developers, say that they did not want RSD1 lots. And I think this is important because we could have a lot of little cottages there, which means that people won't be living there and they won't be supporting the school either. It's been pointed out that there's a lot of green area around, but we want to see green areas also within the area, not houses jammed together like we see in Surrey and Langley. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go right ahead. Hi.
Hello, Sharon Mansur. I'm at 4416 Williams Avenue. I really want to thank the developers for progressing. I really am very happy with how the development has changed through the various hearings. I think that's really impressive. I still don't see a place for RSD1 when we're this far away from resources. So I've always said, and Ian and I have had a few discussions on this, resources for RSD1 are stores and facilities, and you just don't do RSD1 out in the satellites of the community. You do RSD1 where people can walk to resources, and then you've got a proper planning. Otherwise, you're planning for a driving community, and I just think that Summerland's smarter than that, and we don't have to. You have to do that in Surrey, you have to do that in Vancouver. And unfortunately, when we go to look at these smart building events, they typically happen in high-density places. So they're already behind the 8 ball. We're not. So what we need to do is be the place where everybody comes to see how we're doing this development. And we shouldn't be doing RSD1 at a satellite point where we don't have walking to resources. So that's my one point. The second point I do want to also bring up, so I don't think RSD1 has a place, but I do think that we do need some green space. That green space could be buffering the park, because I really think that that's my big concern as well. As a biologist, I think we need to be preserving what little habitat there is there, and just being attentive to that. And so I think there was some mention earlier of the RSD3s being modified, perhaps some of that land, or perhaps some of the RSD1 or one of the RSD1 lots goes and the other lots become RSD2. But it's not that I live in RSD2 or higher and nobody else can have that. It's really not that mentality. It's really about being able to smart build for walking to resources.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good comments. Thank you very much. Next speaker. Go right ahead. Hi.
Hi, my name is Jacinta J. I'm at 5610 Woods Avenue, and our family has lived at that address for 12 years. We did buy the property in 1999 and used it as a cottage for 3 years. We did eventually move there, so just because people may buy it as a cottage, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. They could eventually become full-time residents. However, as someone who walks around the neighborhood and bikes around almost daily, I am really concerned about especially the changes, potential changes to Powell Beach. I think somebody else mentioned it's a gem, and I would like to maintain the ambience, the quality of Powell Beach for everybody in the area. I don't like the idea of a lot of high density. I really like the idea of developing that property. One of the things I do like is that when I walk I walk from Woods Avenue, and I walk past that orchard area, and quite often they're spraying. And I don't think there's really necessary to have agricultural right in the middle of all that residential. So I'm happy about that. But I don't think we have an obligation, because we're residents there, to, we shouldn't feel obliged to provide housing for people, affordable housing. That's not our obligation. We all live in that area and we love it for the way it is. And I do have concerns about Johnson Avenue too, about the increased traffic. I think there was somebody mentioned about the increases in the number of cars going in and out every day. And that's a concern for the safety of the children especially. But also for all of us residents, that's a major artery for us getting in and out of Trout Creek. So I'm in favor of development, but let's not have high density, and let's be very careful about how we do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Dina Knowles. I've lived in Trout Creek at 907 for the past 14 years, on and off.
907.
907 May Street. Prior to that, I lived at 901 May Street. So I've lived in Trout Creek on and off for 45 years. My great-grandparents purchased property in Trout Creek in 1904, so I do consider us one of the original settlers to the area. And I've grown up beside this piece of property and have played in it as my kids do today. And I see many faces around this room that I know quite well, and have babysat for as well in this room. I do support development. I have some big concerns about the lot sizes for the smaller sizes. I've actually been in, I support lots of our neighbors who are interested in moving into that area and lots of young families to come. That's great and exciting. I've also walked by many a times when I've seen a lot of cars that are not from our province who are looking to buy some homes in the area, which we encourage. We like property based there, but we're looking to build a community. I'm not against cottages. I know a lot of people have evolved from that situation, but I'm hesitant to have, a tenth of an acre with a carriage house. You have, your car, your boat, your trailer, and then where are you going to park your overflow equipment that goes out onto the street? If you drive through the neighborhoods, you see usually 2 or 3 cars per home, plus a trailer, and that's just for us locals, never mind, if you're on holidays or just here for a few weeks at a time. So I do support development, and I would like to see things happen in Trout Creek. I do question, I went to Trout Creek, my kids went to Trout Creek school, and I do want to see safety on Johnson Street is a huge concern for me. It would be nice to see more, people, families into the neighborhood, but I'm concerned on such a small lot size and what would happen with overflow parking and all those types of things that come. I also question about the jewel of Powell Beach being kept as it is, hours not being changed because people don't like noise and families out on the beach at 9 o'clock at night, those types of things. It's been a real neighborhood community area, and I would like to see that focus stay. So,
Thank you, Mrs.
thank you.
Wells. That's great. Okay, next speaker. Come on in, Jim.
Hey, Mayor and Council.
Nice to have you here.
Jim Hunt, 5622 Nixon Road. Like a number of the speakers in there, I really like to see this development and that, but I'm opposed to the small lots also on that. It's just not the character of the neighborhood. I agree with people, and, you have a trailer or you have a boat, you got the boat launches right close by, and where do you put everything on those small lots? And that, I think it would just, I think it'd make a mess of the place down there. And Paul Beach, concerned about Paul Beach, and that, we got an old road that comes into Paul Beach and winds through the property, so it crisscrosses where the people go across the roads and stuff like that. I think there should be some consideration that May Street should be the access to Paul Beach, opposed to the other roads crisscrossing through where it can be just nice and clean and safe, opposed to the way it is right now. You could stop, so you have all the parking and everything for the tennis courts and everything where the gate is there, and make Paul Beach a better jewel than it is today even. And that, and I think there's many ways to do it. I think we only have one chance to do it though, and I think it's got to be done right. 3 years ago, you couldn't go out at night for the whole summer without getting bitten to death by mosquitoes. And they're coming from Trout Creek, let's say Paul Beach, there, because the lowland and that, the land needs to be raised up in the area. Everybody says it's a gorgeous place to live, and but it is part of Summerland, a part of the park systems and everything like that. And I don't think there's been enough consideration for what happens there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Next speaker. Okay, for a second time. Would anyone else like to speak? Certainly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good to have you here.
My name is Neil Trainer. I live at 528 Miller, and I'm directly impacted by the RSD1 zoning. It's right in my backyard. Now, I am in support of the development. I think it's nicely done. But I do have negative thoughts about RSD1 fitting into there. I think 2 and 3 works fine, and I'd be very happy with that. I just have an issue with 1. But other than that, I think the development is fine. And like I say, once this will change, you know, whatever the vote is or however it's approved, will change Trout Creek forever. So I'm sure you'll give it good consideration, but as I say, I'm opposed to RSD1. Other than that, it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trainer. Okay, anyone else like to speak to this? Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? And for a third and final time, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Just give everybody your name again, just so that.
Sure, it's
Thank you.
Radolenko, McElhinney Consulting. There's a number of points that were raised this evening that were of some concern to a few of the neighbors. I'd just like to try to address a few of those.
That'd be great, thank you.
First of all, in terms of lot size, Ian, do you have a slide that shows the entire, sort of the neighborhood? The Trout Creek neighborhood?
We've got that one, or we can go to this one.
A little bit bigger. I think there's one on my slide.
Oh, okay, 1 minute. Oh. Bear with me here.
There we go. Okay, on this slide here, and I don't have my pointer, but I'll just use my pen on the screen behind me here. I just wanted to show, we took a look at lot sizes and trying to understand how small RSD1 is and whether or not that RSD1 size is in fact absent in the Trout Creek area. And we made a bit of an interesting find in the area. There's an area bound, I can't read it on there, I'll come and show it, but in that particular area, it's roughly the same size as what the proposed development is, and that has 30 lots in it. We're proposing about the same number of lots. This area in here is roughly the same size as that development site.
Okay.
Approximately, and there's 30 lots in there. So yes, the site is maybe somewhat smaller. Some of the lots are smaller than some of the area in Trout Creek. There is certainly some smaller lots in Trout Creek.
Okay.
In terms of Powell Beach improvement, I just want to remind council that the developer has offered a pretty significant amenity contribution that certainly could be used towards improvements in Powell Beach. In fact, I think the developers have stated that they would like that to be used to improve Powell Beach. To be used however council deems appropriate to make Powell Beach better for the neighborhood, be it roads, be it the beaches, the parks, the washrooms, whatever. But he has offered a sizable contribution to rectify that. That has been a point that was raised a number of times, and the developer has gone beyond what most developers would do to try to ameliorate that problem. In terms of Johnson Street, again, there was a lot of concerns raised, or some concerns raised about safety on Johnson Street, kids, traffic, and so forth. The developer has advised that he's prepared to do Johnson Street upgrades. That is not something that's normally a requirement for development. The developers have advised that they are prepared to make those improvements, providing sidewalks, improving the road. So again, he understood that it was a problem, or a perceived problem possibly. He's taken corrective measures to try to provide some funds that would be available to make those changes. So, Madam Chairman, that's all I have to offer at this time. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Another speaker, thank you very much. Name again just for the audience.
Yeah, it's Vic Jensen, 705 Miller Street.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out for Mayor and Council, although I hope I don't have to, that argument that the proposal of 30 lots is very similar to something that already exists as a spurious argument. Their proposal has 3 very large lots, RSD 3. And so he's not talking about lot size. He's talking about number of lots.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Okay. Anyone else like to speak to this?
Hi, Jim Morrison, 521 Miller. There's 2 comments, please. I believe that the planner could confirm that a referral was made to Ministry of Highways and the response to our project and traffic was negligible. Is that true?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. And so, of course, we are addressing the Johnson Road through the upgrades, et cetera. So everyone keeps talking about RSD1, RSD2, et cetera. As everyone can see, we are contributing significant amounts of money to be used for infrastructure upgrades, Johnson, Powell Beach, Park Amenity Fund, et cetera, et cetera. If we made all the lots there that are RSD1 now to RSD2, we lose 2 lots. That tips our teeter-totter on this project. And so for people to say, oh, RSD1 is going to wreck our neighborhood, we're talking 2 more houses in that whole 6 acres. So I think it's exaggerated, and that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Okay, for a second time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? And a third and final time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. We'll come back to the council table and it will be up for debate now. So I'll ask our planner, Director of Development Services, Ian McIntosh, to answer some of the questions that we heard and some of the comments.
Yes, there are some questions that I can answer and a few more that I can't.
Okay.
With respect to the environmental sensitivity, the property is not currently in our environmentally sensitive development permit area. So the ability that we have to deal with that issue is somewhat limited. What we have negotiated is there will be a fence constructed at the developer's cost along the north side of the property, and there will be vegetation at his cost put on our side of the fence. We do expect that a lot of that vegetation that's there now will probably stay. There will be a tree survey done at the request of the approving officer, and every tree over a certain size will be surveyed in and marked, and then we will determine at that time which ones should be kept. So we're doing the best that we can with respect to that. We do expect some of that vegetation will probably stay because it does screen the beach from potential homeowners on the south side there. However, if some of that vegetation does get removed, there will be replacement vegetation on our side of the fence at the developer's expense. As to do with these large houses on lots, the RSD1 regulations do limit the size of a house to 40% of the lot size. So in any event, the house can't be, it will be less than half the size of the lot. And we do have a number of those lots around town. They are subject to the same regulations as every other lot in Summerland, including all the lots in Trout Creek. So if there's size enough there, they are subject to carriage homes and or secondary suites. That is, every lot in Summerland has that ability. There are regulations with respect to side setbacks, heights, size, as I mentioned, and again, those regulations apply to every lot in Summerland. And with respect to the access question, there will be no access along the north boundary with the exception of the walkway that provides public access for this neighborhood through into Powell Beach Park.
Okay. Any other?
One thing we should mention is the original recommendation was to hold the bylaw at third reading if council wants to move it forward while we get restrictive covenants that deal with the issues that were mentioned before, and that includes the construction of Johnson Street from Nixon Road to Woods Avenue, the $100,000 park amenity contribution, and the construction of the fence and the vegetation on the district side of the fence. Those issues normally would require the signature of all property owners to put an encumbrance on the property, and the developer has suggested as an alternate that they will actually provide us with the cash that would secure those items. So we do have a letter of credit and a signed agreement from the developers in the amount of $500,000 that will cover off those items. So the bylaw could be adopted tonight if council chooses.
Okay, so just for clarification, with Ms. Such spoke about some relationship that the developer had made with their family regarding some 6-foot fence, densification of their trees and so forth. Do we have anything to do or say with that?
Normally, some of those items we probably could participate in terms of enforcement, but most of them we wouldn't be able to, and they do involve work on private property, so we wouldn't generally take care of that.
Okay, let's go and ask council questions, comments. Before we go to a motion, let's talk for a bit. Councillor Hacking and Councillor Christopherson.
Okay, so the first question is in regards to the size of the RSD1 lots. What's the range in size of the RSD1 lots in the proposed development?
There are a couple that are close to the minimum, which is 400, no, they're all 500 square meters, I believe. I don't have that document in front of me. I'm going to see if I can, whoops, sorry, read it off of the plans here, unless you happen to have a map there.
Minimum lot size is 460 square
There are,
meters.
that's the zoning regulation. That
That's the
doesn't
zoning.
show what
No,
the
not
actual
the
lot sizes are. They range, it appears to be from 460, 525, 503, 485, and the larger ones along the beachfront are 600. So there is a range.
Just a quick
Go right ahead.
clarification. What is the RSD1 size limitation? What is the RSD2 size limitation?
RSD1 is our maximum, or RSD3 is our maximum. The minimum lot size is 1,000 square meters. RSD2, the minimum lot size is 650 square meters. And our RSD1, the minimum lot size is 460 square meters.
Councillor Hacking, anything else?
What is the per acreage density of a RSD1 lot?
I would have to do the math on that one.
Sorry.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
Okay, Councillor Christopherson?
Yes, I would just like to respond to a quote that I made that was quoted here tonight, that when I said that I was referring to infill on Howes Street, that that is a pre-existing and developed neighborhood. And my comment was related to a house that was going to be built there that was much larger. Everything else in that particular neighborhood was bungalow. And so that is what I made the reference to. I see no similarity between that development and this development.
Councillor Hallquist?
So, off the top of your head, Ian, what are the size of the lots, the new lots that have been created at Johnson and Highway 97? What is the zoning on those?
I would have to check. I believe they're RSD2, and I think they're in the 650 square meter range, but I'm making an assumption there.
Okay. So, my second question is, we've talked about percentage in terms of 21% of the area being RSD1. So in terms of the total number of lots, how many lots are we talking about that are RSD1?
There are 14 lots that are RSD1. 14 are RSD1 out of 31. And the three RSD1 lots along the beach are within 50 meters of being RSD2.
Thank you.
Questions?
No, that's it, thanks.
Councillor Van Alphen?
It was mentioned earlier, I'm just trying to remember by who, about storm drains. There was some innovative thought you had on stormwater collection. Can you elaborate on that?
Mr. McIntosh can.
Mr. McIntosh?
I believe what we're talking about is flat curb, and so that the water can run off the road and be dissipated into neighboring lots, which is exactly the same road construction that we used recently at the Nixon Road and Kirk Avenue subdivisions, which has been very successful, with a wide, flat concrete curb holding in the asphalt, which does allow for better drainage.
Thank you.
Are there any comparable developments seriously in Trout Creek of this size? The RSD1s, RSD2s?
There is no RSD1 currently in Trout Creek. So we don't have any of those. I would say that maybe a similar comparable would be the old Joy property at the corner of Highway 97 and Johnson Street, which is probably the closest, but this has a slightly different layout and a better mix of lots.
Okay. And the height of these homes could be how many?
It's 9.5 meters or 2 stories, which is the same height for every residential zone in Summerland.
And
Single
just to
family.
say, every single residential home in Summerland, it could in fact have a carriage house.
If they're on sewer, they can, that's true.
Questions, comments? Wish to council, you're certainly welcome to. Councilor Waterman?
There's obviously a lot of different concerns here. I think one of the ones that strikes me is the barrier between the Powell Beach and any housing. And to some extent, I believe, basically it appears as though the vegetation buffer and so on would be suitable. And what my experience over the last number of years is that a lot of buffers are inadequately taken care of, and there may or may not be adequate growth of those buffers to make sure that they actually do indeed fill in. So, as the developers, if they proceed and that kind of buffering is put in place, there has to be some, not guarantees, but some ensuring that there's adequate water going to be supplied on a regular basis to ensure adequate growth. Because a couple of drip lines, for example, for a buffer like that with reasonable watering times per day will do an incredible job. I mean, I've got cedars, for example, at my own house that are, I think the neighbors kind of complain, they are high. But I was worried initially that they wouldn't survive because they hadn't been grown up under drip. They'd been grown under regular irrigation. And so I placed a drip line on either side of them, and they've continued to grow very lusciously. So, the concerns about privacy and buildings overlooking the park, I think, is definitely a concern. But I'd urge the developers to make sure that, the buffering that's going to occur will be on our property or the beach side would be adequate and would be able to address the necessary growth. And water would have to be a part of that in terms of maybe that's our job as a municipality, make sure that watering system is in place. But my point is that it needs to be enough growth there to satisfy this privacy issue, which I think is a concern.
Well, it's a good question because, is this a strata?
This will not be a strata. It's a fee simple, regular subdivision like all the rest in that neighborhood. To speak to the buffer, that will be on the district side of the fence. It will be our responsibility to maintain. And we do have $100,000 of the developer's money to ensure we get a fence and a vegetative buffer constructed there.
So that answers your question.
Yeah, on that issue, yes. I think it's been brought up a couple of times about obviously the public has brought up the RSD1 aspect, and I can see their concerns. I guess having several of the lots be close to RSD2 is limits the total number that are going to be RSD1. But I do see the challenge in terms of the neighborhood, and I don't know whether changing more of them to RSD2 would make a change other than providing a negative tipping balance for the developer. Now that, in my mind, then you start looking at to what extent do the amenity money that he's done or the other upgrades be done in order to offset losses in number of lots of the RSD1. So, those are some of the questions that might have to be answered, because I certainly do understand the concerns of neighborhood change, but I also understand the development standpoint in terms of, whether it's worth doing it at all if you don't have enough lots to sell. But at the same time, is there an increase in value of the RSD2 over RSD1 to also tip in the positive in terms of value received for the development? So I don't know, I don't know if there's a differential in price between those lots that might help offset some losses of the RSD1 numbers.
Well, that might be a premature question,
okay,
given the scenario, but what might be interesting is where you've got the RSD1 that is up against, I can't see which road that is up against, yeah, right there. Those RSD1s, what size are they? Just out of interest.
Those are 480 square meters.
Okay. Are they all 480?
pretty close. The corner one is 525,
Okay,
and the corner one here is 528.
okay, so they're getting close there, Stu. So the smaller ones are on the inside, is that correct? What I'm trying to, so for example, when I think of, Mr. Trainer, where he lives, he's going to look directly across at the large, or am I saying that right?
No, yes, Your Worship, the four smallest lots are
Right
just
in there.
south of the cul-de-sac, and
Yeah.
these four. They're in the 460-plus range.
Right.
These are 500-ish,
Okay.
and they go up from there.
Okay, because the only ones that are going to see those are those that are on that side, right? Everybody on Miller and around from the other areas are not going to see in on those smaller ones versus the larger ones. So I think,
That's true, and the developer has committed to put a 6-foot-high fence plus vegetation on the south side of the Johnson Road extension.
okay,
So that will
okay.
make some impact as
And who
well.
will take care of that fence? Or will that be a stone fence or a,
I believe that's going to be a wooden fence, and it will be, I suspect, the responsibility of the property owners, but that's part of this private arrangement that we're not involved in.
understand? Okay, okay, more questions, Councillor Waterman?
Yeah, just one more about the buffer, because there was a concern or mention about the biodiversity of animals, et cetera, in the area. And I don't know, what's the proposed width of the buffer on our side of the development towards Powell Beach?
Your Worship, we don't have a proposed width at this point. That's the covenant that we were going to place in there is a suitable buffer at our discretion, and we do have significant funds to cover whatever we might deem is reasonable there. So there's
Because-
$100,000 to put
Yeah.
toward that project.
I know that, the difference between, say, a 5-foot buffer that's supported by vertical cedars is one thing. A buffer that's, blends into the park scene being wider, especially if there's an arrangement of different shrubbery and higher trees and various vegetation options, allows for some of the requirements for some of the quail, et cetera, that might want to inhabit that. So there's a considerable difference between having, vertical cedars that I have in front of my house, which allows for the biodiversity of my cat, versus, something that may be several meters or more wide with a range of close to the ground vegetation, higher options, probably proceeding to a higher things like junipers, skyrocket junipers, for example, which can grow to be 12 and 16 feet high. So I'm getting at the idea of trying to retain some of that biodiversity that may be lost through the whole development in that barrier, buffer area, that's all.
Okay.
With some thinking, I think it would be done quite well.
Okay, any more questions of council? Councillor Christopherson?
If there are no more questions, I'm ready to put it on the table.
Okay, could I just ask if Ian McIntosh or Tom Day have any final comments before, very difficult discussion, just before I want to make sure that everybody's asked all their questions, no more questions on your project?
I have an answer to Councillor Hacking's question. It's just under 9 lots per acre is the RSD 1 density, and the comparable RSD 3 is about 4.
RSD 2? What about RSD 2?
Somewhere in between.
5? Is it 5?
It would be more than that, but I don't
Just
have
checking to see how alert you are. Okay, any other comments? Okay, just before I go to Councillor Christopherson, Councillor Hacking, did you have a question?
We're going to be covering both these public hearings in the one motion.
We're covering both in the one motion?
Yes,
Is that correct?
well, I'm not sure if you,
Two separate.
You need 2 separate motions
Two
because of the...
separate bylaws.
one is up for adoption, the second is only up for third reading,
Yeah,
Your Worship.
hold on. Councillor Robson, question?
So that would be approximately 1/3 of, or 0.13 of an acre?
Quarter acre are the RSD 3 minimums,
One
which is-
quarter acre.
which is
RSD.
approximately 1,000 square meters, and acres just over 4,000 square meters.
So what was your response to the RSD 1?
RSD 1 is just under 9 lots per acre. RSD 3 is 4 lots per acre, and RSD 2 is somewhere in the middle.
So we'll go
5, 6.
point,
Yeah,
0.15 there.
yeah. You're getting into Yeah,
No,
you're
I'm
gonna-
just trying to figure it out in comparison to my lot, and I'm looking
Your
at.
worship?
Councillor Waterman?
Yeah, I guess, you know, proceeding with the motions as they are doesn't clarify the concerns about the numbers of RSD1 that could be in the development. And I'm just wondering, how do we cover off the potential for, say, reducing perhaps a couple of the RSD3s slightly? This is a slight change, or a change in the makeup of the development, but I'm pretty concerned about the overall concerns I hear in the room regarding RSD1. If we proceed as is, we're just moving ahead with the existing motion.
Tom
And
Day?
I don't know, how do we
If you
reflect
could,
any
obviously-
potential changes in RSD1 to satisfy the concerns?
Obviously, the wish of council, but
Yeah, you'd have to refer it back to staff, and Ian would have to meet with the developers and have a look at it. I think the one joy is that if you decrease density, you don't have to have another public hearing. So if council decided they wanted to just have the RSD2 as opposed to the RSD1, Ian would have to go back and talk to the developers and have a look at that. So we'd have to send it back to staff.
Yeah, Your Worship, in order to, you know, I really feel we ought to be able to try to address these concerns if in our discussions, if it was referred back to staff. And in those discussions, there was some rationale for some changes, but also an understanding of where it hits the development. Then perhaps we could come up with a resolution that in the end, they may say, I'm sorry, we can't make any changes to it because it affects it negatively affects the profitability to the extent it can't be done.
All right.
If there was a situation
Okay.
where the
Yeah.
other side of the coin
Yeah.
is flipped, then maybe that's what we have to address.
Tom Day, process-wise, can we refer back to staff for further discussion?
Yes, the council's really got the opportunity to do whatever it chooses.
Okay.
And
Rather
at-
than pass or fail, or, you know, say it has to have less or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think obviously the developers and staff would like some pretty firm direction from council as to what they're
Obviously.
looking for, but that's definitely an option that's open to council.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion to defer or refer this back to staff for some reconsideration by the developer to resolve some of the concerns.
Defer or refer?
Refer,
Refer.
whatever, yeah, refer, yeah.
Refer?
Not defer, yeah, refer.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Okay, I don't see a seconder. Councillor Van Alphen, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's always difficult at public hearings. Never a fun place to be sitting up here at the table sometimes, but the thing is, you know, there's always gonna be, am I asking questions or comments?
Yeah,
Or either?
Questions, there's no motion on
Oh,
the floor
I
at this
apologize,
time.
Your Worship. Let's put the motion on the floor. then.
Okay, Councillor Christopherson wanted to put a motion on the floor. Which one did you want to put on?
So moved that bylaw 2014-015, official community plan 2008, bylaw number 2000-310, and zoning bylaw 2000-45450, amendments 6003 Dale Avenue, be read a second and third time and be adopted.
Seconder?
Just bring it to the table.
Seconder? Okay, it has been seconded. Okay, Councillor Van Alphen, did you wish to speak to it?
Yes, Your Worship. I mean, it's always a difficult situation. You're changing things in a neighborhood. This RSD1, you know, some people may not like the idea, some people do like the idea. I think it's got some merit. It's gonna be good for the school. Families in the area are good. There was comments made by Smart Build. We have a bus there now. We have the school, that's another amenity. When I look at Smart Build, I don't consider RSD3 very smart build either. You know, so there's an argument that way. I like the idea that services are there. We can densify the area, sewer is there, all the amenities are there. So I will be supporting it. I think it's a good development for the neighborhood and good for the schools.
Okay, Councillor Christopherson.
I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, there was an extensive study done with the baby boomers. And the consensus of that study was that they do not want big lots. They do not want big houses. Also, as it reported in the paper, Summerland has the highest average housing costs in the whole South Okanagan. I think that is still current. And by smaller lots, it makes it more affordable. And Summerland is facing a crisis of affordable housing. We have a number of, when I first came here, we had a number of young families that raised their families in Summerland, but we don't have that now. They probably work, most of them probably worked in Penticton, some would work here, but we don't have that now. It's very difficult for young families to start out in Summerland. What I do especially appreciate about this application is the mixture of these lots. I think that everyone should have the opportunity to experience the ambience of a certain area. And by the variety of lot sizes, it gives other people, younger people, the opportunity to live in this area. What I do also appreciate is what our planner has eked out of these developments, out of these developers, which can be applied to other areas. Now, I want to mention something else that I don't think it has ever been mentioned before. I support development, reasonable development in selected places where the infrastructure is not going to be so high. And I appreciate the taxes, and as being on council, we always have to be cognizant of taxation. We have, as I mentioned, a number of roads in Summerland. I live next to Blair. It's the decision that was made with Blair is how many times you want to fill the same pothole. We do not have a tax base to support the infrastructure that we have. Now, when I look at the taxes generated by the residential section, it's $5,559,346. This money, the residential sector pays 78 to 80% of the taxes. Now, to me, it makes farming affordable because.
We just need to stick to the. Okay.
But it's a tax base. It's a tax base that is all important to me in this. And I know that I may feel the same way if I was living down in the area. I was used to that. But these are things that, that have to change. And they will be changing. And I don't like change that much either, but I am getting conditioned to it. And so I will be supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alquist.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As my fellow councillor said, this is never easy sitting here trying to make these decisions. But it is all about compromises as far as I'm concerned. Compromises for the community, not only the local community, but the community as a whole. And starting with the developers and coming from the original proposal that they had, I feel this is a reasonable compromise for the area and for the community. The amenity extra dollars that we're getting for the improvement of Johnson Street, the park improvements to the neighborhood, could be Paul Beach or the tennis courts or whatever there in that area, at no cost to the taxpayer. And if you read in our OCP, we've been operating on this infill strategy for a number of years now. It's never easy, and this is just another good example, because this is although this is a larger, 30-some odd lot infill project, it's never easy going into an established neighborhood, and this is a really good example of that. But that's the strategy that we've taken. That's what's written in our OCP. As well as in the OCP, we also state that there needs to be a range of housing options. And by providing 3 different zones in this particular subdivision, we're doing that. So I think that we've lived up to our commitments in the OCP. So I will be supporting the motion.
Okay, Councillor Robson.
Thank you, Worship. I too sympathize with the concerns for our RDS or RSD ones, but I also have to concern myself for the fact that we're only looking at 2 lots here. So I have to say, 2 lots isn't going to make any difference in a great subdivision like this. This is high end, and I think the people of Trout Creek have to recognize that will be a showcase for our community. And I think it's important that this development go ahead. And I can appreciate the concerns about the RSD ones, but like I say, it only makes a difference in 2 residences. I think those 2 residences will maybe bring more children to our Trout Creek School. I think that we have to look at growth, and all areas in our community are looking at growth because we're infilling in various areas. We get backlash when we infilled in Summerland here. Last council meeting, we had a lot that was subdivided. I didn't agree with the size of the lot, and I voted against it. And I don't like to see small lots, but RSD1 is becoming prevalent within our communities, and Trout Creek is just one of the things that we'll have to change to accept that. And the difference in the sizes is very minimal in my view. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you, Worship. Just something that Councillor Christopherson touched on, and I really appreciate it. One of the things I like about this, it's not a gated community. Not that I'm against gated communities, but I'm actually really against gated communities. It's not 55 plus, thank goodness, because if it was a strata, it could very easily become a 55 plus. Here's an opportunity, and people want to talk affordable housing. Come on, it's Trout Creek. It's RSD1. It's going to be probably a lower price point than the RSD2 and obviously the RSD3, but it's going to bring some families there too, which it's a jewel. And Trout Creek is a jewel, and the thing is, bottom line, is going to bring new neighbors into the community, and the developers, some of the developers and owners are going to be moving there, and they will be your neighbors. So I will be supporting it, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Waterman?
I can see some angst.
Yeah. I'm surprised you asked me.
No, go ahead.
Seems how I've had a
Go
reasonable
right ahead.
amount to
Yeah,
say.
no, that's okay.
I guess as I've watched this development move in its progressive stages, and I gather from what's been said that with the hearings and the open houses and so on, that there's been changes reflected by those wishes. And I guess where I was coming from, and had a failure on getting a seconder, but what I wanted to see was a little bit of math with respect to some changes with respect to the number of lots that are RSD1 to RSD2, because when you go from RSD1 to RSD2, there should be a benefit in land value to the developer with respect to the differential in lot size. It has been indicated it may be minuscule, but at the same time, I don't know to what extent the difference makes overall, because I understand the developer has put a tremendous amount of what I call amenity money towards this development, and I was somewhat surprised because I didn't realize that Ian had a gun in his desk and was able to apply that to the temple of the developer to get these level of amenities. So I'm kind of, I haven't been satisfied in terms of understanding the math and providing some differential information with respect to lot sizes. But at the same time, the mayor did bring up one point about the perimeter lot adjacent, I guess that's on Johnson, is it? Coming down there? That those are some of the larger ones as opposed to some of the inner ones. I don't know to what extent that maybe satisfies people, but I can certainly appreciate the neighbors' points. And
think about it for
I guess some of my questions have been answered, I think, satisfactorily. Buffers and so on, I'm more pleased about the answers I've got there. The progression and differences from the original plans of multifamily to this has been a significant change. It's a very difficult thing to kind of wrestle with, but
Okay.
carry on.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to the people who attended the open houses. And those people, there were some people that I spoke to as well. Your comments made a difference, particularly from the multifamily, thank goodness, to, you know, what it started out with and how it grew and grew. And it's a whole lot better. I felt like there were some real changes that were really positive. But there's a couple of things here that are really important. If we take out all those RSD1s and make them RSD2, we're not getting rid of 5 homes or 10 homes or 15 homes. We're getting rid of 2 homes. It's so minimal, it's not going to make an ounce of difference for traffic and movement in the area, you know, the park, things like that. That's not going to make any difference. It's 2 houses. So, you know, as I sit here, I get the RSD1 and the RSD2, but they're, for the most part, larger. And if it was a lot of homes difference, yeah, I can see that. But for 2 homes, I'm struggling with that one. So I also like the fact that we are offering a variety of homes. I like the fact that the developers are going to live there. They're not going to let this go downhill, believe me. They're going to live right there. They're going to be watching it. It is their showcase. So I think that's a definite importance. And the fact that it's right up against the beach, I think you're going to find the kinds of people that move there are going to be very concerned. Obviously, their neighbors are going to be concerned, and that's all going to make a difference. This is not going to be affordable housing. You know, there's no way. This is Trout Creek, and that's okay, because Trout Creek has a level where it's going to be at, and that's good, and that's where we want. But what we do try to do at this table is make the best use of land. And the best use of land is to have a variety of housing, to have different sizes, to make sure it's serviced, to make sure that it's beautified by, you know, buffers and gates and things like that. And that's what was really done with this. It's never going to be easy, but you know that for the most part, I mean, most of you spoke about the RSD1 to the RSD2. That's what your complaint was. I get it. But we're talking 2 lots. 2 lots. So we turned down the whole subdivision for 2 lots? That doesn't equate for me. And your comments about buffering and, you know, schools and the safety, those were excellent comments. And the safety issues, those are excellent comments and make perfect sense. But it's for us, what is, you know, after we're all long gone, right? That's the way I try to look at when I'm doing development in my head. When I'm long gone and we're all long gone, how will that look? Will we be proud then as we are today? So when we do development at this table, I keep saying someone said this last week at an RDOS meeting, people come and go, right? We have a lifespan, but lot lines are forever. So when we do lot lines, let's make sure they look the best that they're going to look. And that's the piece for us. So if RSD2 is the level, I get it, but this is really close. This is really close. So I'm gonna support this.
Can I have one thing?
Sure can.
From the planner? So if we were to change the RSD1 lots all to RSD2, we actually do lose only 2 lots?
I haven't done the math, I'm not certain, but that is what the developers have suggested.
That's what it equates to. That's how close it
No,
is.
I'm just trying to, yeah.
That's how close it is.
Hmm.
Okay. Has everybody spoken who wishes to speak?
Speak on the next one.
Okay. Ready to call the question? All those in favor? No one's opposed. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda. Okay, next item on the agenda pertains to this, but this is the second piece for the OCP. Would someone like to put this on the table?
I'll put it on the floor.
Thank you. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Horace, we're continuing on with the meeting. Please, I'll ask you to leave the table. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hacking, if you could just read the next motion, please.
Okay, Bylaw 2014-016, Official Community Plan Bylaw 2014-02 Amendment. That Bylaw 2014-016, Official Community Plan Bylaw 2014-02 Amendment, 6003 Dale Avenue, be read a second and third time.
Seconder, thank you. Very much the same.
So I'm
go
a
ahead.
forward-looking guy, so I'm gonna speak to the OCP that's forward-looking instead of the.
I'm going to get you to move your microphone a little closer, please. And could we have all discussion outside, please? Thank you. Could we just move that discussion outside? Thank you so much.
In the same vein,
Thank you.
I've heard the concerns about the RSD1 lot sizes. I feel the developer has taken a significant and very practical steps to address the visibility, the massing, the layout of the lots to minimize the impact RSD1 housing might have on the residential area. I find that the project is attractive. The infrastructure improvements are well over and bound what I've expected and the district expects from developers and by our regulations. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Okay, we're going to call the question. Then all those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. Not the most riveting by comparison to the last. I apologize. All right, I just want to say congratulations to Katie Shaw for winning the 10th anniversary special of the Canadian Living Me to We Award for her work in developing the Epilepsy Awareness Squad to teach epilepsy awareness to people in our area. The award which Canadians got to vote on was for young people ages 13 to 17 who do extraordinary things to change the world for the better. Well done, Katie. I want to thank the Summerland Fire Department, firefighter Rob Robinson, and a few of the volunteers for helping Councillor Robson and Councillor Van Alphen and myself participate in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. We got absolutely drenched, but then we were able to challenge our former Mayor Gregory and Mayor Johnston, and they also got drenched too, so it was well worth it. It was good fun for a great cause, and I hope everyone enjoyed the laugh at our expense. It was good. This weekend is the annual Endless Summer Show and Shine Car Show in the Memorial Park. It's a great event, and you can vote for your very favorite cars. As well, the 105th Summerland Fall Fair is taking place at the arena, two very popular Summerland events, so we hope to see you there. Finally, this is election season. If you think you might be interested in running in this year's election for a position at this council table, come to see our corporate officer, Maureen Vocita, during 8 to 4, Monday to Friday, to pick up the nomination papers, which must be filed between September 30th and October the 10th. A few people have contacted me already, and I know other councillors have been contacted for information about what it's like to be a councillor, what types of things go on at the council table, the events we're invited to, and the time requirements. If you would like more information, please feel free to contact any one of us, and we'll give you the information you need to make an informed decision about whether or not you wish to run for a position on council. That's my report, and our CAO, nice to have you back. Tom Day, do you have a report?
Just one brief item. Our fire chief asked us to recognize that one of our really dedicated volunteers, Phil Marischuk, is leaving the community. Phil also worked for us in the Parks Department,
Yes.
but he's had an excellent career opportunity. He's been hired by the Lethbridge Fire Department, and him and his family will be moving to Lethbridge to pursue a career as a professional firefighter. But Glenn in particular wanted to comment about what a great volunteer he's been for the community.
And I hope that we write a letter I'd like to prepare and
I'll get Karen to
sign.
do that
Thank you
for
so
you.
much. Thank you. Yeah, good comments. Okay, next item on the agenda, there's no correspondence or corporate officer? No? Okay, so we'll go right to Development Services Department reports. Ian McIntosh, our Director of Development Services. If you'll take us through this one, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is an official community plan amendment application to add the Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan, which is a new development area in Summerland that requires a neighborhood plan prior to being able to be subdivided. And there's 3 components to that. The first one is to add the neighborhood plan and incorporate it into our official community plan. The second one is to change our map that would, again, show an area on our Schedule J map that this property is included into our neighborhood planning documents. And the third item is to change the official community plan designation from open land to rural residential. So this is a fairly large parcel of land. It's 170 acres, 69 hectares, and it's located between Garnet Valley and Highway 97. And it's a fairly parcel of land that has significant topography. A very small part of it is in the Agricultural Land Reserve. There are 3 separate titles involved. You can see the plan area there. It's currently designated as open land on our community plan, so the proposal is to amend that, change it to rural residential. It is currently zoned country residential for country residential development, which has a minimum lot size of 1 hectare. And you can see, maybe you can see there's a little piece, about 2 acres in the very bottom right-hand corner that is in the agricultural land reserve. So the application for the OCP amendment will have to be referred to the Agricultural Land Commission as part of the process. The property is within our environmentally sensitive development permit area, so there's environmental assessment that is required and has been completed. It's also in our wildfire hazard development permit area, so a wildfire hazard assessment was also done, that has been completed. So there are the document is very significant. There's 216 pages of policy and mapping involved in that. I'm not going to go through all of that. I included basically the table of contents in the staff report that lists about 20 items there that have been discussed. The ones that are of most concern or interest to staff going through this process was the septic sewage disposal, which is fairly significant. There is not going to be a sewer to this development, so it's of concern that septic sewage be taken care of appropriately. Suitable road access in a hillside environment, obviously fire protection with suitable emergency access, and protection of environmental values. So with respect to the septic sewage disposal, the septic sewage may be difficult due to the existing geology of the property. There is significant outcroppings of bedrock and significant topography on the site. However, the lots are 1 hectare in size, and it appears possible to find suitable septic disposal sites on lots of that size. And the approving officer has full control that no lots can be created through subdivision without proof of a suitable septic disposal system. With respect to road access, the neighborhood plan does describe alternate road standards that the district may wish to consider when this property is developed to minimize site blasting and grading and still provide suitable access. These alternate design options will provide guidance at the subdivision stage, and it's recognized that it is a unique environment and hillside standards may be appropriate here. And certainly the district has final approval over any road design at the time of subdivision. With respect to fire protection, the property, as I mentioned, is in the development permit area, and a development permit will have to be issued by council prior to subdivision approval when we get to that stage. A wildfire threat assessment report is included with the neighborhood plan, and it fully describes the site and recommends tools to reduce risk from wildfire. And those recommendations will form the basis for the development permit when the application for that is received. There will be a secondary emergency access that is required for the first phase of development, and it will go down through a steep, narrow gravel road for emergency purposes out to Garnet Valley, with the primary access being off Sanborn Street. With respect to environmental values, again, the property falls within that development permit area, and a development permit will be required again prior to subdivision. However, a comprehensive environmental assessment has been provided with this application and with the neighborhood plan. The environmental report has been reviewed by our shared environmental planner, and she is fully supportive of the report. It is extensive and lays out a number of strategies to protect environmental values. And again, those strategies will form the basis of the development permit when we get to that stage. These areas can be protected using a number of tools, and there is a bit of a wetland in this area up in here that staff and the developer toured. As well, there's a couple of ephemeral ponds, and it's quite interesting to be up on that site, which is essentially dry and very desert in nature, and see a couple of significant areas of bulrushes growing out of the ground. So they are quite nice areas there. And there are a number of tools that can be used to protect those, and that can be either dedication as park, registration of conservation covenants, or donation to a conservation society. The appropriate tool will be determined at the time of subdivision, but it is intended that these areas will be retained and protected as natural areas. We're recommending, as part of this application, that there be a covenant amending the existing no-build covenant on this particular lot here, as the current covenant area does not include that wetland. So that is part of the recommendation. There is one other item with respect to neighborhood character. There's a section in the neighborhood plan that describes hillside development guidelines, which are essentially the form and character of the development. And a lot of this section can be achieved through our existing regulations in the zoning bylaw, However, a subsection on slope adaptive housing describes suggestions to sensitively incorporate buildings into the slope. There are 4 pages that talk to this, talking about color palettes and roof slopes and having stepped housing versus rancher style. And these are laudable suggestions, however, they are unenforceable without a statutory building scheme registered on the property. And such building schemes aren't normally required by the district, and we are not usually in the business of enforcing such building schemes. We don't want our building permit staff out there trying to tell them what colors to paint their house, et cetera. So unless a building scheme is put on by the developer at the time of subdivision, these simply become interesting ideas and good guidelines should somebody wish to follow them. The application was circulated to our technical planning committee, and they supported the application as presented. If the bylaw is given first reading, it will be circulated as per our normal OCP amendment process to other government agencies. And this is a somewhat unique property or application because the property really is already zoned for this style of development. And normally, the official community plan gets amended first, the zoning follows, and then all any particular conditions of zoning would follow exactly with what happened in the application previously. In this particular case, it is already zoned for this development, but there was a covenant placed on it that said that they cannot subdivide without a neighborhood plan being adopted. So this is the neighborhood plan. It's a significant and comprehensive document, and it is supported by staff.
Just before you go on, can you just explain, there are 3 properties. Are they owned by the same person?
There are 3 properties, 3 titles on the subject of the plan. They're owned by essentially the same people, but have different names on the titles. There's a company name, a personal name, and another company name. But they are the same people at this point.
So all 3 are involved and all 3 are guaranteed to work together, is that correct?
They could, there's no guarantee that they work together. They could be sold independently of each other.
My concern obviously is the one at the far west side, that piece, because that's your park piece. So if that was sold?
It's a preservation area. We do have a mechanism in the recommendation to preserve it so it won't be destroyed. But it wouldn't necessarily become dedicated park if that was sold separately and the owner had no wish to develop or wasn't interested in proceeding in that fashion.
Good point. Okay, Tom Day, I know that you had some comments that you wish to express before.
I do want to talk to council a little bit about the requirement to review this bylaw in relation to council's financial plan, but I just wanted Ian to expand on 2 topics first. So first, if for example, the westernmost parcel was sold, our ability to get the secondary access would terminate?
No, that is also a condition of the recommendation, is that before, if this bylaw proceeds, one of the conditions would be that there be a statutory right-of-way registered over that emergency exit so that we would have access to that, whoever owned the property.
And then second, can you talk to council a little bit about the primary access from Bentley to the actual property that's the subject of the neighborhood plan?
The primary access will be off of Bentley Road down Sanborn Street, which is a fairly narrow rural road at the moment, and then it proceeds up into the development. That is the primary access, and it will be essentially the only access other than the emergency access should there be some catastrophic event that required people to exit and the primary access was compromised. There are other potential access options in the future across other private lands out towards Cristanti, but at the moment the only access options that are in the control of the developer and the plan are primarily from Sanborn and the emergency out to Garnet Valley.
So I guess one thing well, there's a couple of topics I want to bring up. So one of the issues when we look at and make a recommendation that council consider this in relation to its financial plan, it relates to council when it's looking at an OCP as to what financial implications occur should a development occur. And the first item that came up, staff's worked quite hard on this in terms of trying to minimize the capital impact on our financial plan. And the first item that came up is in fact the requirement for construction of an improved access from Bentley to the property. So it's off-site, and we don't have the ability, and Ian, you might want to correct me if I'm wrong on this, we don't have the ability to require that off-site improvement. And in fact, part of that road right-of-way is too narrow, existing on Sanborn. However, the approving officer does have the ability to refuse the subdivision because there's inadequate access. And so it's a bit of a backwards enforcement tool. And I think that that's important for anyone to realize, because our recommendation that we say there is no impact on the financial plan has to include the fact that the developer pay for that upgrade of Sanborn on off-site. If the taxpayer is expected to pay for it, then there is an impact on the financial plan. I think that needs to be on the record so that anyone who eventually, may purchase this or proceed with this development understands that, in fact, the construction of an improved access from Bentley to the property will not be the responsibility of the district.
Is that clearly labeled, if we were to go forward with this tonight, is that clearly labeled for, I guess what I'm saying is that, we have to think that this is a lot of land. Is that in there so that we are protecting future homeowners, future?
There are two issues. It's in the neighborhood plan. How clear it is open to interpretation. The approving officer certainly has the ability to not approve the subdivision unless it has adequate access. So if the application comes forward and Sanborn Street is not upgraded and it's too narrow, then the approving officer simply says no.
So it's not something we should do tonight?
Well, I think it has to be on the record that, because as I said, council's resolution says that they've considered it in light of their financial plan. Yes. And our recommendation says that there is no negative impact on that financial plan, but there's only no negative impact on that financial plan if someone other than the taxpayers pay for the upgrade of Sanborn from Bentley.
Okay. I'll come back to that question. Councillor Hacking.
Let me see if I can unravel this
Yes.
enigma and a mystery. So if we wanted to register a covenant that the road upgrades be done at the developer's cost, would that happen at this stage or at a subdivision stage?
Ian, can you answer that?
I think it would, items of that detail are probably more appropriate at the subdivision stage.
Okay, so then it leads to my second question. So in my interpretation here, it does not have a financial impact because it will have a financial impact in the subdivision. And that is where that decision is made.
Yes. The approving officer has the ability.
Unless we're requiring the road to happen as a condition of this.
That's what I'm wondering. Shouldn't the road be a condition of?
Well, do you want to answer that, Ian?
Yeah, there's two levels here, and it is odd because the zoning is already in place. And if the
Yes.
zoning wasn't already in place, we'd be having a different discussion.
Okay.
At this point, the neighborhood plan describes how the development will occur. And that provides guidance to the council when they're giving the environmental DPs and when they're giving the wildfire DPs, and to the approving officer when he's looking at the subdivision plan. We do have some limitations because we are talking about a neighborhood plan here, not a zoning or not a subdivision. So we've tried our very best to describe in the plan these issues, but if somebody who's not astute at understanding these plans reads that, they may not understand what we're saying. But it's clearly in there, and the approving officer has the ability to make sure that the subdivision doesn't occur without a road being constructed. And if the developer is required to construct that to make it go, that's fine. If he can talk the Rotary Club into it, or his brother-in-law or council or whoever else, that's still going to be a requirement before we sign the plan. And at the time, council could, if they wanted to spur development, they could throw some money at it. If they didn't want to, then the developer would have to sort it out. But we're in a bit of an unusual circumstance because of the zoning arrangement.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, I just wanted it on the record that quite clearly the recommendation from a capital perspective doesn't include the taxpayer funding the improvement of Sanborn.
Okay, so it doesn't say that. So how do we protect the future
Jennifer.
by having it? I mean, it's there. It's there. Is that enough? Is that enough?
Let
Not sure?
me ask a question.
Okay.
Can we
Councilor.
guarantee, okay, in the subdivision, when, should, or if or when that occurs, can we make that require, or can the council of the day make the requirement of the road upgrade at that point?
No, the council of the day has no say in the subdivision matter. It's up to the approving officer, and as long as the approving officer is aware of that direction, then it's fine. And I think that by having it in the minutes, I think it just raises that flag that the upgrade of Sanborn is expected to be at the expense of the developer, not at the taxpayer. Otherwise, it does impact our financial plan.
Of course it does. Okay, does that answer your question, Councillor? Councillor Hacking? Okay, now I saw Councillor Van Elfen. I thought I saw your hand. I apologize. I thought I saw you first, then Councillor Christopherson.
So, to our planner, the preservation area to the northwest on the separate lot, approximately what, 80% would be on that separate lot?
In the neighborhood.
60, 70%?
Yes,
Okay,
certainly the majority.
So if that lot was sold, that could be fenced off, and the people of the subdivision wouldn't have access to that, possibly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, fine. So then the emergency access road that we're talking about, once, if this development passes and that emergency access road has to be built, who then takes over maintenance of that road?
If it's a statutory right-of-way in favor of the district, it would likely be our responsibility to take care of that road.
So if we have to take responsibility of the road, nothing happens in development, but that lot sells, now we're maintaining someone's driveway.
Well, the emergency access wouldn't be constructed unless the subdivision went forward. That would be a condition of phase one, if you like. So there would be 5, 10, 20, whatever the first phase would likely be, that would trigger construction of that road.
Does it have to be built at municipal standards?
I would say municipal standards for an emergency access. It has been through our technical planning committee, and our fire department has agreed with that. It's a 4.5 meter wide, which is 15 feet. It's gravel, and it's a maximum of 15% slope. So it's not for normal travel.
Just has to be enough to be able to get a fire truck around, right?
Well, in February,
Exactly.
with our volunteers.
Yep.
That's,
Obviously very skilled, but yes.
Let's hope
yes.
so.
Garden Valley, you have to be very skilled.
I did.
Tom Day.
Sorry, I wasn't finished my comments, actually.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
Just-
I also, in relation to the impact on our financial plan, I wanted to raise for council's awareness that recommendation that there is no impact on the financial plan, it doesn't have an impact on the existing financial plan, but every time that we look at development outside of the core, there's also an operating impact. And so, well, I think the opportunity exists for, maximum of 69 lots, perhaps less, depending on topography and how they fit in. That revenue, we're uncertain of that revenue stream in terms of time of build-out, right? And how long it takes to build out. But on the flip side, as soon as those roads are constructed, they become our responsibility to maintain, to plow, to sand, to pick up the sand. The water system becomes our responsibility. And so those expenses are incurred upfront in terms of operating expenses. And so providing build-outs, within reasonable time, that cost is recovered. So I just wanted council to be aware that when we are constructing, part of our whole financial difficulty is that we've got, this huge road network and huge water network without a bunch of tax base adjacent to it to support it. And so this is about infill in this case. Needs to, if we're saying there's no impact on the operating financial plan, it means that infill would have to happen pretty promptly. And there's, a number of assumptions I think that have been made there, and not a pile of detail, but I think council's aware of that situation. That was my comments.
Okay. Councillor Christopherson.
Thank you, Worship. Because of the topography of this property, what would constitute an adequate access road?
The main access road and all the roads that you see on the plan, with the exception of this one here, would be built to municipal standard. And that may be slightly adjusted in our hillside standard. We could adjust slightly off of that if we wanted to, so that we minimize blasting and disturbance to the site, which we would likely do, and other communities have done that. But they certainly would be constructed to municipal standard, and the maximum slope would be between 10 and 12%.
Yeah, okay. Is that possible to do on,
Your worship, we do have preliminary engineering work that suggests that, and that's what the neighborhood plan speaks to. So that's the plan.
Councillor Waterman, thank you. Councillor Waterman?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just going back to our CAO's comments, you don't think that perhaps, other than the wording in that first sentence under financial implications, you don't feel we need anything addition in there in terms of upgrading Sanborn more specifically? I'm just thinking in terms of, you know, of course these things are buyer beware, et cetera, but if, for example, this development was sold and developed by somebody else, would we not want to be clear that although the sentence does cover off any eventuality, but do you think there's a need to mention Sanborn more specifically?
That was my question too, but that's when we heard from Ian McIntosh that it's not until it gets to the subdivision stage.
Yeah, I think,
Okay,
go ahead.
well, it could be that in this document it's covered off well enough, but I guess that's...
But
If council was, Your Worship, if council was uncomfortable with the nature of the certainty, we could certainly go back and see if we can make it more certain to give council some comfort.
I just feel that it's, you know, a little vague right now when so much of the whole development depends on that access, and it's up to the approving officer, may or may not, you know, he could say no. And yet, if it's absolutely clear in the documentation that Sanborn has to be upgraded in order for the thing to go ahead, you know, the approving officer has no difficulty. And I wouldn't want the developer to have any hesitation in his plans, knowing that down the road, you know, one way or the other, given the approving officer's discretion at the time. I think if it was absolutely clear in this document, then he knows what he has to do.
Okay, hold that thought. Councillor Van Alphen?
On Sanborn, will extra land have to be purchased north or south to widen that road?
I believe so.
And that's agricultural land?
Yes, it is.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that's a good question. So what happens there?
Well, there is going to have to be an agricultural land commission application because a piece of the property is within the agricultural land reserve. The amount of property that would have to be purchased off Sanborn, is, assuming it was split maybe between a north and a south landowner, is not enormous. I have run the application by the Land Commission just to see how significant an issue this is, and in their opinion, it's not that significant. We're talking about an access road through with, and they do provide access roads through the land reserve in other situations, and in their opinion, that would reduce the pressure on agricultural land for development. So allowing a road to go through to open up more land that's not in the reserve would be in their best interest.
Since we're on this agricultural piece, these are country residential. They're good-sized lots. What if someone wanted to begin farming as a business? Would it have to be rezoned?
Our zoning bylaw does allow for agriculture general on country residential lots that are 1 hectare or larger.
So they would automatically be in that tax base then, the class 9?
No, they would have to satisfy the...
Well, I understand that, but if they were able to?
Yes.
Okay. So that's particularly not a concern, but you can see where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where I indicated there was a number of assumptions made regarding build-out and assessed values and,
Yes.
you know, impact on service demands. So, you know, it's not science.
Okay. I have some more questions, obviously, about the sewer, but Councillor Van Alphen, you're next on this.
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I've got tons of questions.
Good. This is the time to do it.
Is this
good.
land going to be serviced with domestic water and irrigation water, or just one?
I would guess at this point it would be serviced with just one, but we haven't determined that yet.
Okay, because that's, you know, like it's a concern because in this report, it talks about growing apples and ground crops and grapevines and all these things. I'll get to my end result here as quickly as humanly possible. Do we have a sanitary sewer geotechnical study at all?
We do not have a specific study on the suitability of the site for septic disposal, no.
Okay, so this is 69 hectares, possibly one home per hectare at the end of build-out.
That's possible.
Okay, so 69 homes. The ponds to the north and the wetlands to the west, are these spring-fed or are these just surface water?
I'm not sure.
And then it gets to the end here where it talks about, you know, the extensive amount of trench blasting, excavation, and more blasting and stuff like that. Have there been a geotechnical study done on the bedrock in this area? Like, are we gonna create something down the road here like we have somewhere else in the community? Like, I'd like to defer this back to staff for more information, to be honest with you.
We do have a geotechnical report that was provided with a neighborhood plan that speaks to the suitability of the property to support houses, so there's no danger of slide. It talks about the geology, which is predominantly bedrock, and it does speak to the fact that there's going to have to be some blasting done to construct the roads and put in the deep services for sure. We don't have specific information on how that might or might not affect septic systems, and we have nothing specific on septic disposal.
Okay, hold the thought. Let's see what else there is on. Any other questions? Councillor Van Elfen, you're welcome to, I mean, if you want to put a motion on the table, because you talked about it earlier, you're certainly.
Well, I'd like to put a motion on the table
Sure.
to defer this back to staff. I'd like to see a septic study done on this property and a geotechnical study done on the bedrock and stuff. Where's the drainage gonna go?
Let's get a seconder, please.
Sorry.
Someone like to second that?
I'll second.
Second? Okay, it's on the floor. Councillor Waterman, did I see your hand?
Yeah, I just looking at the septic system approach to things, the requirement is that the minimum size of 2.5 acres or 1 hectare satisfies our requirements with respect to
Country residential.
enough area for country residential. But I understand where Councillor Van Elfen's coming from in terms of, you know, flow, et cetera, of any water that's added to the system and where it might go. But I have one question that's somewhat, you know, is related. Can our planner tell me what is the average lot size in Deer Ridge? Deer Ridge, please.
It's RSD1 and predominantly, which is 1,000 square meters. Now, I don't know exactly the size of each, but that is the general zoning.
I think it's RSD 1,000 square meters.
RSD3, I'm sorry.
RSD3.
It is RSD3?
Yes.
Okay, so we've already been told that's 4 lots per acre?
Quarter-acre lots,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and essentially, though, you've got, if you were having, you know, the same sort of build-out on 2.5 acres, you're talking roughly 10 lots that would be applied to the 2.5 acres to be similar to Deer Ridge. So when you've only got 1 lot on 2.5 acres or 1 house on 2.5 acres versus the potential that there would have been in Deer Ridge with 10, I don't see that they're comparable in terms of the amount of flow that would be impacting the area. So my only reassurance would be, you know, I'm being reassured by the fact that the 2.5 acres is a requirement for septic without adequate sewer. So in essence, the developer has satisfied that by accepting the 2.5 acre stipulation, and will go to septic because of that.
Okay.
There may be extenuating aspects, but then it's up to the developer to find those locations on that 2.5 acres that satisfy the need, I would
Okay.
understand.
Councillor Van Elfen, Hacking, and Robson.
We're not just talking septic effluent. We're talking groundwater, we're talking possible springs. Nobody can answer those questions. They can't even answer the questions, are we gonna go domestic and irrigation?
Yes, you're
Sorry.
I apologize. Tom Day, our CAO, is just giving me a heads up that we should, in fact, be talking to the referral, which I think if you just rephrase it, Councillor Van Elfen, you're wishing to find out the information, not
I'm
just
trying to-
because of the houses, you're trying to find it out because of the other issues.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Like, I've read the report to the best of my ability. It doesn't talk about either domestic and irrigation, one or the other. I'm asking the question, and it has a big pertinent result at the end of this thing. If we're gonna supply irrigation water,
That has never been supplied
that's
before.
never been supplied on this land.
Yeah.
This land has only seen snow loads and rain in its history. Now you're gonna have roof runoff, talks about extensive blasting and all these things along, like and you got these ponds and stuff like that that are, obviously there's water sources up there. Are they springs? Do we disrupt that? And where does it go? That's all I'm asking. I'd like to see a geotechnical study done. Bentley Road, right below it on the industrial area, is very low as it is, or a very high water table there. And those are concerns that I have. Like, what are we gonna do in the future? It may not be my future, but it's like Deer Ridge. Nobody thought we were gonna have those issues either. And it's not just effluent. A lot of it's water.
Speaking to the motion referral, Councillor Hacking.
That's right.
That's okay.
In regards to the septic concerns, we're talking a totally different density and even slope than Hunter's Hill. I don't have any concerns of that, so I will be supporting the amendment.
Okay.
Or the motion.
Okay. Councillor Robson?
I'm of the same view.
That's right.
Of the septic issues, we're not talking the same density here, and I think we have to take that into consideration, for sure, in making our decision on this property.
Okay. I have a question regarding referral because of a geotechnical engineering report that we don't have. If we don't do it today, it doesn't get done as it goes forward, right?
Well, the approving officer, when we get to the subdivision stage, the approving officer still has to ensure that every lot that is created has a suitable access, it has suitable septic disposal, it has all the other requirements, electrical and whatever else is in our bylaw. We don't create any lots unless they satisfy the criteria. So the neighborhood plan would be nice if it said unequivocally that you can put 60 or 70 septic fields on that property. But regardless of that, when the subdivision application comes in, we make sure that every lot that is proposed has a proven septic field through a recognized practitioner or a geotechnical engineer.
Is it possible that this could ever be changed to a higher rural density? Sewer.
Your worship,
Sewer
not-
would be the next, sewer or the 69 homes.
There would have to be a change in zoning to get any more density than what's there now, and then we would be into a more normal situation where we can deal with the land uses at that time.
Okay. Councillor Waterman?
Yeah, I just.
Speaking to referral? Sorry, speaking to referral.
Well, exactly. My
Yes.
point is that aren't we going to be dealing with the referral first? It's been
Yes.
moved and seconded. We haven't approved
haven't-
or positive or negative.
Yes, but
on
why
that.
do you want to refer?
Well, I just want to make sure. If we're dealing with that, then let's deal with that, and then we can go ahead and deal with
Absolutely.
the other motions.
Well, okay, explain for me. If we.
No, I think that's what the discussion,
Yeah.
that's the reminder, the discussion was why it wants to be referred or
Okay,
and why
okay,
it
that's
doesn't.
fine. That's fine,
Okay,
okay.
so it would immediately go back to the planning department for further discussion. Is that right?
If
Yes.
it passed.
Okay, so the discussion right now at this table is whether or not to refer it because of, Councillor Van Elfen put the motion on the floor to refer it because it does not have a geotechnical engineer.
Okay.
So
Can I
that's the
address-
referral motion that's there. Do you agree with that, and would you vote in favor of that? That's
Okay.
the question.
No, I think I would be voting against the referral because I feel that, as I explained just a few minutes ago, that the 2.5 acres is covered. The densities are considerably different from Deer Ridge. And as our planners specified, the approving officer will determine whether a particular lot gets a septic approval or not.
Okay.
Now, it'll be up to the developer to determine, if he doesn't get approval, there will not be a house on that 2.5 acres, period. He'll just have 68 lots or 68 houses instead of 69.
Okay. Okay. I apologize. I did see some hands. I think I saw Councillor Christopherson first and then.
Just a question, would not the geotechnical report be done lot by lot? Not every
No,
lot
it's
is going to
included.
have a conceivably, would not have to have one?
So therefore, a reason for referral.
It's, we can't really determine that. In this scenario, I would suggest that the approving officer, who's me, by the way, is probably going to require geotechnical approval for septic on pretty much every lot, unless there's one that's in a draw and there's a lot of gravel or topsoil, or, you know, it's obvious that there's no requirement.
Councillor Hillquist.
Well, I think there's a lot more important issues than talking about the referral for the
Geotechnical.
Sewage thing. I personally would like to hear from staff with regard to the financial implications, the bigger picture, and Sanborn Avenue. I think we go through this process, and the problem is that we say, oh, well, you know, we'll let somebody deal with it in the future. But the more that we can nail things down now, in terms of in writing and agreement and so on, the better off we'll be, and the less problems will be later on.
Okay, we have a motion on
I
the
know.
floor. So I'm thinking that really we should probably deal with that motion first and foremost. I happen to agree with you, Councillor Hillquist. However, I think you just said it. I think that every property is going to need a geotechnical report, and I'd like to see one up front. I think it's required. We're not talking about eight acres. We're talking about 160 acres. This is a huge piece of land, and we need to make sure that it's okay to go forward for roads and water and all of the other things that are going to be required just to get it started. That's my concern. That's why I'd want it to be referred for geotechnical, because I think there are lots of merits to this, but I think that piece has not been done for my liking. And I'm thinking, I'm like Councillor Van Elfen, that, you know, I'm not going to be here. That I live long enough to see this build out, so I've got to make sure today that it's okay, because Deer Ridge is not okay, and it's nowhere near okay, and we're trying to fix the pieces today of what should have been done way back. Granted, different issue, granted, different number of houses, but I'd sure feel better if this had a geotechnical report, besides the other issues that Councillor Hillquist is talking about. So let's just call a vote, see where it goes, and we can get, if it fails, we'll go on to other things.
I guess, Your Worship,
So
if I may.
Okay,
I guess
let's
I've
just
been
go on.
fully satisfied that the planner has said that a geotechnical understanding of individual lots will be done before any kind of septic approval is done. And I don't know how feasible it is to do an overall geotechnical on the 160 acres that's going to meet the kind of requirements you're asking for. Because on
very
an
well be.
individual lots, yes, it's going to be a detailed situation for each lot.
Okay.
But anyway, that's my point. I will not be
Let's just do
supporting the
the,
referral.
I get where you're coming from.
Yep.
I get that, but there is a motion on the floor, so let's just call it, and we'll go from there. All right? The motion is to refer back.
That council refer the proposed OCP amendment application to add Hunters Hill neighborhood plan back to staff for completion of a geotechnical study to be completed and to report back to council at a later date.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails with Councillor Van Elfen, Mayor Perino, and Councillor Hillquist in favor.
I think that's the first.
Yeah, but it's okay. It begins the discussion, so there's nothing wrong with this. I think we're going in the right direction. Councillor Hillquist, could you continue on with where you were at with the financial piece?
Well, now that this is, we've shot down the deferral motion, it doesn't look like there's an appetite to defer the
No, we can put it back on, but just with different requirements. Is that correct? Yes.
Oh, we can do that, but I mean, I see the mood of council here is not, they're not in a deferral.
Deferral?
What would you want?
We're not wanting to defer it at all, so.
I wouldn't presume what council.
I wouldn't, no, I wouldn't either. No. I think if you have
Well,
concerns.
let me think about it and
Okay.
have the discussion, but.
Financial discussions, Councillor Robson?
Thank you, Your Worship. My thoughts on this, and I looked at this land. I walked it yesterday, and I drove it yesterday, and it's pristine area, pristine development property for what we call rural residential development. And I think with the acreage that we're looking at per lot, or the hectares that we're looking at per lot, we can look at this under a planning position down the road with growth coming about as a development goes. This is just a preliminary approval to a plan that's been given to us, and I went through, I would say, 75% of the 260-some pages of the report, and I see it being a benefit to our community. I look at it down the road, and I'm talking 50 years from now because I'm looking ahead 50 years. I really see it being the Dilworth Mountain of the future. That's where our urban growth is going, and I'm hoping it's going that way.
You mean to the north?
That's right, and that's where we get access to the highway. That's where we get access to the downtown core. Down the road, and it probably will be 50 years from now, that will be Seward, and we will have another Dilworth, and I think that's important for our community. And it could be longer than 50 years, but I know I won't be here, and I know that everybody at this table probably won't be here, because we're looking at long-term here.
I'd like to object.
Oh, you're going to be here? Okay.
I'm going to be here.
Keep going.
But I look at it
Keep
as
going.
being a step towards a development. I wish that 22 years ago, when I arrived here in this community, I would have had the opportunity of purchasing a piece of property in that location. I sat up there on an old Adirondack chair yesterday, and it is just phenomenal. You can't find pristine areas like that anywhere in this community. And the sooner we look at the development, you know, whether it be a hectare or a hectare and a half, I think it's going to be ideal for this community. And the sooner we start it, in my view, the better. And if we put in barriers, then we're just going to slow down the process and inhibit the developer.
So this is not urban by any stretch?
No, up close to it.
Okay, Councillor Hallquist?
So, while I don't disagree with anything Councillor Robson has said, I've been a supporter of development in this area since I've sat on council since 1972. So this is nothing new to me, and it is a great area and it should be developed. All I'm concerned about is, you know, having gone through 2 property owners that I know of up to date, and how long these things take. My concern is that we know what we're getting ourselves into, and the more that is done ahead of time, the better off everybody's going to be in the future. So there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Municipality knows where they are financially, the developer knows where he is financially, etc. I have no problem in supporting the development, just exactly what you said, and have supported it since I've been sitting around this table.
Oh, yeah, it's been
So
added out.
I'm not looking to slow things down, I'm not looking to kibosh it or anything else like that, but, you know, we need to go into this, now that we're getting hopefully a little closer to getting something done here, and everybody needs to know exactly what, especially the financial implications, because as the administrator or the CEO outlined earlier, there are some financial implications to this, and it's not just as simple as it appears to be, so. I just want to be clear on that, so.
Councillor Waterman?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I think our planner alluded to the difficulty that we are faced with initially, one that it's unusual to have it already zoned a given way prior to what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was somebody's fault a long time ago, and what I'm dealing with here, or we are dealing with, is the reality of the country residential as it sits. So now we're faced with dealing with it and moving ahead to satisfy country residential. There's no way we can go back, and you know, it's I would use the word pristine for different reasons than my colleague. Pristine implies that we don't touch it, but we've already gone to country residential, so that decision's already been made. So, you know, the one thing that struck me throughout the document was the involvement in the documentation and the recommendations of the biologists that delivered that report. And I would urge the developer to adhere to those recommendations as ardently as they can, because it involved, the disruption, but then the recovery of some of the areas that are disrupted. So the biologist called for that in the report, and I'm trusting that the developer will adhere to what's being written in this 200 and odd pages, including that biologist report. So, if I'd had my way, probably it may never have received country residential. But that isn't the reality of the day. And I can't move the clock back, and nobody else can either. So we've got country residential, and we're dealing with it now. And I'll be moving ahead with the recommendation.
It's not even on the floor.
Not even on the floor yet. Okay.
Which
Well, it will be.
I will resolve. I'm going to put the
Go
motion
ahead.
on the floor.
It's a bit of a mouthful to read, so yeah.
You can
go
read
ahead.
the whole thing, are you?
Yeah, I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the changes, yeah.
Okay. Move that bylaw 2014-021-2A, amend official community plan bylaw 2000-310 to change the designation of Lot 1 District Land 472 ODYD Plan 148, except Plans 2118 and KAP 51691, 11700 Sanborn Street. Lot 1 District Land 1178 ODYD Plan KAP 91886, 18654 Garnet Valley Road. That part, District Land 1178, outlined red on Plan B1755, ODYD, except parts outlined in red on Plans B5590, B3577, and B7646, and accept Plan KAP 91886, 19013 Bentley Road, from open land to rural residential. And B, amend official community plan bylaw 2000-310 to add Hunters Hill neighborhood plan as shown on Schedule C as subsection .12 to section 8.2.1 secondary plans, and C, amend Schedule J neighborhood plans map of OCP bylaw 2000-310 to add the properties noted above, be given first reading and proceed to a public hearing on October 14th, 2014, and that council has considered the bylaw in conjunction with its financial plan and waste management plan, and that bylaw 2014-021 be referred to the Agricultural Land Commission for comment, and that final adoption of the amending bylaw be considered in conjunction with a statutory right-of-way registered on title of Lot 1 District Land 1178 ODYD, Plan KEP 91886, located at 18654 Garnet Valley Road, that allows for construction and use of an emergency access suitable to the District of Summerland, and B, amendment of the existing no disturb covenant LB 452276, registered on title of Lot 1, District Land 1178 ODYD, Plan KEP 91886, located at 18654 Garnet Valley Road, to encompass the additional areas shown on Schedule D attached to the Director of Development Services staff report dated September 8, 2014, and further that bylaw 2014-0222A, amend official community plan bylaw 2014-002 currently with the ALC to change the designation of Lot 1, District Land 472 ODYD, Plan 148, except Plans 21118, and KAP 51691, 11700 Sanborn Street. Lot 1, District Land 1178 ODYD, Plan KAP 91886, 18654 Garnet Valley Road. That part, District Land 1178, outlined red on Plan B1755 ODYD, except parts outlined red on Plans B5590, B3577, and B7646, and accept Plan KAP 91886, 19013 Bentley Road, from open land to rural residential, and B, amend official community plan bylaw 2000-310 to add Hunters Hill neighborhood plan as shown on Schedule C as subsection 1.2 to section 8.2.1 secondary plans, and C, amend Schedule J neighborhood plans map of OCP bylaw 2000-310 to add properties noted above, be given first reading and proceed to public hearing on October 14th, 2014.
Seconder? Okay, there's a seconder, thank you. Ian, if I could ask you another question, it was quick, eh?
That's not
If I could
bad.
ask you another question, okay, I want to come back to the very first question I had about that other property that is supposed to be the park designation. Am I saying that right?
It's going to be preserved, whether it ends up being a municipal park or some other mechanism of preservation, that's yet to be determined, but it is going to be preserved.
How can we guarantee that?
Well, the recommendation, and I have a slide here, Currently, this is the area where the wetland is on that third title.
Okay.
This green line here shows a no disturb area that's currently protected by covenant. So the recommendation that Councillor Hacking just read, one of the conditions is that this additional area be protected as well. So regardless of what happens with that lot, that conservation area will be protected. It just may not be a public park or accessible by anybody except those people who own this lot if it gets sold separately. But it will be protected.
If it gets sold separately, say that again?
These lots currently are separate titles, so they could be sold individually regardless of the neighborhood plan. So if this lot here were to be sold separately, it could be owned by myself, for instance, if I wanted to buy that. I have no interest in the neighborhood plan. I don't want anybody on my land. So there's a covenant on my property that says I can't disturb that piece. So I build my house over here and I live happily ever after, and that's that.
Okay. So what you're saying is then, so we can't protect it any more than what we've already got it protected for there, is that right?
Well, no, there are tools. If this was a significant issue for council, there are tools that we could suggest that would ensure that that piece of land gets, for instance, dedicated as a public park.
Okay.
But that requires a no separate sale covenant on all three properties, so you can't sell them separately. And then it would require a covenant registered on those lands that says when at the time of subdivision, that land must be dedicated as a park.
Okay. And you don't feel, I can't get past the geotechnical. I'm like Councillor Van Elfen, I'm struggling with that one too. I realize Deer Ridge is an entirely different issue because of the number of houses, but it's the bedrock, and you know, it was the road and the disturbance of water and putting water on the land and all these things. You never know if these are country residential, if they go into some active farming, we could see a fair amount of water on these lands. And so, you know, there's no protection for that. Am I over worrying?
Well, I wouldn't. The council has, you know, you are certainly entitled to your opinion. There's no doubt about it. The geotechnical support we have in the neighborhood plan for the septic issue is thin, at best, basically non-existent. However, the approving officer does have a backstop for that, and he can make sure that it gets done appropriately. But there isn't anything really in there that speaks to that. We do have a drainage study that's a schedule to the plan that talks about drainage, and that's essentially runoff and road drainage, which is dealt with in the plan and has been done by an engineer. So it's mostly council's comfort. If council is comfortable, then we move forward. If council isn't comfortable, then they give me instruction as to what would make them comfortable, and I will attempt to get it.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you where I'm coming from. This is the largest piece of land that we've had to deal with at this table. It's just before an election, so it's, you know, my concern with that is that a new council is going to be dealing with this, and there will be new players at this table who will be dealing with this. And so we're making a decision today for the future of this piece of land without the input from the future council, and that bothers me. This isn't 8 acres, it's 160 acres, so that concerns me. And I feel like that's the part I'm struggling with. I want to make sure that everything is right so that I can at the very least say to a new council, whoever is here, that go ahead, we've done our due diligence to make sure that you are protected, and there's nothing that you ever have to worry about. And I don't feel that. That's me. Because in exactly 3 months, a new council will be sitting at this table. So I want to make sure that we do the job today so that I never have to look at another person in the eye and say, we didn't do enough because we wanted to get it through. This is 160 acres, so it's huge. And I want to make sure that we have done enough to, you know, I'd almost feel better passing it on to the new council because of the size of it. It's so massive that I feel like, you know, either we do everything we can to ensure the safety for the future council, or we pass it on to the new council. That's where I'm having the struggle. Otherwise, I think there's lots of merits, lots of merits to this, lots. I voted in favor of this before, very strongly. So That's where I'm coming from. It's because it's the timing. Councillor Holquist and then Councillor Van Alphen.
Well, I share those concerns, and that's why I raised the issues earlier. But having said that, we are only passing this tonight to have a public hearing, first reading.
True. Very good point.
And depending on what the community has to say, we may not have to worry about it. The community may be a strong outcry. I mean, I'm not trying to crystal ball this thing, but you know, we all are assuming, I think, at this point that this thing is going to proceed, and we'd like to see all this stuff, these loose ends tied up, and I totally agree with that. But having said that, we're only talking about putting this to a public hearing for the community, and I'm always interested in what the community has to say, for sure.
Yep.
And so, you know, depending on what happens there, maybe we, with our concerns, may have another kick at the cat. Correct?
That is correct, and I've certainly heard your concerns, and we have a significant amount of time between now and the public hearing, and I'm going to see if we can't get some information for you before then.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Van Alphen and Councillor Robson.
Thank you, Worship. I'm not against this development. I'm not against any development in Summerland. I'm all for development. I just have some unanswered questions that concern me greatly. And I understand our planner says the planning, you know, at the planning stage, or, you know, it's lot by lot, right? The septic. But who's qualified to say what the accumulative of that is going to be? The 99th lot. Are you an engineer? Are we engineers now? Say that 99 lot will be the one that puts us over the edge? Like, that's all I'm asking. That's why I asked the questions I asked. There's also questions in here on water services. You know, who's responsible for water upgrades on Sanborn? It also talks about not enough water, and they may be taking agricultural water off Garnet Valley to supplement this. There's a lot of questions in here that aren't answered. That's why I was asking the questions. I'm not against the development, but I have definite concerns, and if it goes to public hearing, I got no problem with that.
Okay. There's Councillor Robson, sorry, I apologize.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can sympathize with your concerns, Councillor Van Alphen, but there's checks and balances built into the system, and I think that's what we have to rely on. And granted, Madam Mayor, I sympathize with your concerns as well. But I think if we're going to progress, we have to progress systematically, and I think that's what we're doing here. We're progressing systematically, and that's where we're going, and that's my feeling on it. Thank you.
Very, very fair. Okay. Let's go.
Sorry,
Councillor
I had
Hacking,
a comment.
sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say I have a fair amount of comfort with where we're at right now and what the future plan for whoever council sits at this table is. When we were addressing the subdivision in Deer Ridge, we made the sewer extension a condition of the subdivision. I think we have the mechanism and tools available down the road to deal with the road issue, to look at and consider the septic, effluent, and water issues. I think at this point we need to fix the obvious issue of the requirement for the neighborhood plan to get this thing kind of packaged in a piece that makes sense with the open land designation removed and a proper designation put in. So I'll be supporting this
Excellent
motion.
comments. Excellent comments. Well worked through. Motion's on the table. We'll call it. All those in favor that this will take it forward to the public hearing on October the 14th? All those in favor? Motion is passed with the mayor opposed. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 9.2. Ian McIntosh, Director of Development Services. Can you take us through this one, please?
Yes, I can.
We'll move along as quickly as we can. I apologize. It's getting very late.
I will be very quick. This one is a fairly simple application. It's an application for a development permit in the high hazard zone. Property is in or touches a piece of the hazard, the red zone, if you like. There's also a watercourse development permit area along the riparian lake edge. That development permit will be issued by staff. There is a riparian report in support of the application. So this one is to talk about the slope hazard. It's a current existing house lot that has been consolidated. There's two buildings on it now. It used to be two separate lots. It is now one single lot, and the plan is to demolish the existing homes and put in a new home. We do have a geotechnical report because it's in the high hazard zone that identifies a safe line that you can see on the screen there. As long as you are behind that or on the lake side of that lot, you should be fine. There is the proposed house that is behind the safe line in support of the geotechnical report. So staff is in support of the application, and that is the home that will be constructed on the property.
Okay. Comments, questions? Councillor Alquist to start.
So looking at the map, oh, okay, you had a map there with.
One more, back.
No, I'll refer to the Schedule A site map that you've got attached here. The, across the street, what appears to be across the street is a garage or something. Is that all part of that same lot?
It isn't part of the same lot. It is owned by the same owner, and they're attempting to put a garage or accessory building on that lot as well, but that is not the subject of this application.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hacking?
The side setbacks are within compliance, or they seem really close?
The
What are
setback,
side setbacks on that?
the side setback?
Between the property lines?
Yes, they comply.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Okay, the wish of council. Gentlemen? Councillor Hacking?
That a development permit be to authorize the demolition of the existing structures and reconstruction of a new house as shown in Schedule B to the Director of Development Services staff report dated September 8th, 2014 on Lot A District Land 673 ODYD Plan EPP 38821 located at 1927 Lakeshore Drive be granted.
Seconder? Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Hacking?
We've seen some development in, this is Landry Crescent? Is that what it's called? What's this area?
This area
This is Crescent Beach.
Crescent Beach, sorry, in Crescent Beach, and you know what, it's, I don't want to presume what it means, but I think it means that the economy is recovering, so.
Yeah, that's right. Certainly when you look at what they want to build, certainly the economy is recovering. Well said. Any other comments? Okay, Councillor Robson?
Just, that is the access to the emergency exit road, is it not?
No.
No.
No, that's much further to the east
The
and
north.
south.
Yeah, to the east, north, right? Emergency
East and
access.
south, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Slater Road
I'm
is
trying to
the.
think of-
Slater
yeah.
Road's the south.
Oh,
Yeah.
South, okay.
That's a long ways away.
Is it further around the,
This is right at the very, very end
Very tip.
of Crescent Beach. You can't drive any further.
Let me move up one map.
There you
Slater Road is way
Yeah,
over
right
on
at the
this,
bottom there.
off the screen to the bottom right.
Yeah.
So this is way at the end of Crescent Beach.
oh, okay, so that end, that's the end of the street?
That's the end.
That's the
Period.
very end of
Yeah.
the street.
And the access road or the exit road is
It's
where?
way
It's,
down
it's,
there,
if you can
way
see
down there.
Slater Road here,
Okay,
it's there and it winds down and meets up off the screen to the bottom
I
right.
was thinking that it was further up, around the backside.
I can guarantee it's a tough grind on a
It's
mountain
a
bike.
terrible, terrible road, yeah. Okay?
yeah.
Okay. No other questions? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item is recommendations of the Committee of the Whole. This is from this morning. You know, I apologize. It is so late. Thank you. It is so late. Tom Day, do you wish to do this tonight? Summerland Chamber of Commerce. I don't want to make them wait.
I think the chamber would like us to do it tonight. They
I
sat
know,
here
I'm
through
so
2 or 3
sorry.
hours and they've, you know,
But it was
exercised today.
riveting for you to be
But,
here, right?
I really think that, you know, council worked through it very well this morning. I think
Okay.
the resolutions just really need adoption. I think council did their work this morning.
Excellent comment. It is in fact, Councillor Hackins, go ahead.
I want to put this one on the floor. I move that Summerland, that council instruct staff to modify the fee-for-service agreement between the District of Summerland and the Summerland Chamber of Commerce to reflect a flat rate annual funding in the amount of $225,000 for a term of 5 years, and that council approve the fee-for-service agreement between the District of Summerland and the Summerland Chamber of Commerce as
Seconded.
amended.
Thank you. Comments? Go ahead.
Comment. I've been liaison with the chamber for my term here on council, and it's been a pleasure to see the transition from one group of management to the new group of management with Christine and the board of directors. And
And
this
Arlene is present.
And Arlene is present here in the crowd here. And it's been a real pleasure to see the amount of professionalism and dedication to what the focus of the chamber is done through that organization. The board has given a clear direction when I first started to what the chamber should be doing, and has pursued that goal and been real professionals about it. And this is not a reflection of really a reward, but a reflection of this service has a cost to it, and those costs increase. And we want to make sure that the operation cost of the chamber doesn't dig into their fun events cost. And I'll be supporting, obviously, this motion.
Okay, any other comments? Councilor Waterman?
Your Worship, yeah, I'll be supporting this. We went through an enormous amount of discussion this morning, and I'm satisfied with what we have now, so I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
The only difficulty I have looking through the agreement is there's one point, it's 3.7. It says the chamber will organize all candidates' civic election forums to be held prior to any election or by-election that should be held during the term of this agreement. I don't have a problem with that, but I would suggest that the chamber make an effort to remain politically neutral in the community if they're going to participate in that sort of a function. Okay?
You know what,
I know, it's just that
I think
that
that's
was-
an unfair statement.
No, I
I
don't
have to
think
say
so,
their
Your
job
Worship.
is to be as unbiased as possible.
Well, they are.
I
Yeah,
wish
I'd like to see that, yes.
And I don't think that needs to be addressed. I know that they do the job that needs to be done for the community to the very best of their ability. And I've never once seen where they've been biased in any particular direction.
I
So
see.
I
Okay.
feel that that is unkind, and I'm not prepared to accept that without a statement. Councillor Holmquist?
Well, in all the years that I've been around, and it's been a couple, I've never, ever found the chamber to
No.
be biased at all. And I think it is a very unfair comment. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but the chamber have always been apolitical and have run a very good forum for those that have run for council, as well as, BC and federal politics as well.
Yeah, federal
So,
and provincial.
Yeah, I have no concerns about that at all.
Your Worship, the only thing I would add is that the chamber has exercised themselves, as Councillor Holmquist just said, over the years. I just would like to see them continue with that, because I respect the chamber for what it does do at the candidates forum. Okay, thank you.
Not sure it needed to be said at all, but we'll let it go at that.
It's okay.
Councillor Robson?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. My concern and my applause to the chamber for holding the line over the last, 2005 was the last raise that you received. So at that time, the funding went to $200,000, and that's, if my memory's, what's that? 7 years? No, it's more than that.
2005,
Yeah.
9.
Remember
the percent, that's
fine. It's getting awful late.
It's getting late.
I'm tired.
We'll have to, yeah. You've done a
Anyway.
good job, don't you worry, you've done a good job.
I just think it's they've held their own, they've done well, and I'm pleased that we are going to this formula, and I think over the next 5 years, hopefully that will suffice. And if we see concerns, I'm sure the chamber will come back to us and ask for more money.
Okay. So let's be clear, this is an agreement for an additional $25,000 per year. They have not had an increase since 2005, as you said, 9 years. So you now got a set rate, should this go through, for the next 5 years to do your business. And of course, if you take on any new operations or something else comes up, obviously you can come back to this table, and obviously this table and the staff can come and ask questions and guide forward as the need arrives. So,
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
Councillor Hallquist brought up a concern this morning, or not a concern, but maybe a good idea, and I think the chamber should look at some of these ideas that were mentioned or bandied around this morning. What the chamber has done in the Penticton area with their wine store and their changes to their marketing, I think are good ideas, and maybe down the road we can look at that. There's maybe some development area there. If we got it, it would be good, I think, going on what Councillor Hallquist said this morning.
okay, not about the motion that's on the table, but worth the comment. Councillor Van Alphen, and then let's call the question.
Just all respect for the chamber staff and President, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for picking up the slack on the economic development front. We don't have an economic development officer as of such anymore. I know Ian wears 2 or 3 hats here, and you guys have taken on a big part of that role. And as for the comment about the wine thing, great, but put it downtown in an empty store, please. Thank you.
Worth the discussion. All right, there is the motion on the table. All those in favor? No one's opposed. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience to wait. Okay, next item on the agenda is the bylaws. This is bylaw 2014-018, amendment to zoning bylaw 2004-50 and subdivision and development service bylaw. A recommendation is to move this forward for final adoption. Any final comments, Ian McIntosh?
Nope.
Wish your counsel. Councillor Van Elfen?
Recommendation that the bylaw number 2014-018, amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 and subdivision and development service bylaw number 99-004, 12262 Saunders Crescent be adopted.
Seconder? Thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Final one, metered water rates and fixed water service bylaw, fees bylaw number 2014-019. Lori Coates, our Director of Finance, final comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. The past couple of weeks, we really haven't received many more letters from citizens about any issues, but we encourage you, if you have any questions or have any outstanding situations, please contact us in writing or by phoning us at City Hall or Don Darling out at the Works Department. I would also like to just remind everyone that if you have any unmetered water, that you need to be in touch with us before the end of the year. And again, that can be at the Works Department. Don Darling is handling those calls as well. And the third thing was just for condo strata owners that you need to be in touch with Jim Holcher to make sure that we're on the right track with you for any additional meters that you might have. So other than that, no additional comments or changes that have happened in the last couple of weeks, Your Worship.
Okay. Wish your counsel is final adoption. Councillor Waterman.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to bring this forward. Recommendation that bylaw number 2014-019, water utilities, and bylaw number 2014-020, amendment of fees and charges bylaw number 98-001, water rates be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. Final comments? All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Councillor reports. I'm going to start with Councillor Van Elfen.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick couple points. Enjoyed the water dunking ALS challenge.
Not pretty.
I did not enjoy that at all. The fireman, Mr. Rick Liardo, that had me, made that 5-gallon bucket last a long, long time, and I did that on purpose. I
Mine
know
was
that.
a long time, too.
Yes, yours was long. I think Councillor Robson's was the quickest.
You got the easiest one.
And former Mayor, Mr. Johnson, had the pail on his head for a while, so I felt that.
That was Mr. Gregory.
Mr. Gregory also.
Why would you
Anyways,
feel bad about that?
Yeah.
just a quick thing. This Friday night is the Summerland Steam's home opener for the season, so come on out and support your local Summerland Steam. And one other quick item, if I may, and I know it's kind of getting a little bit late in the season. Haying season's just about over for me. I know apple season's in full swing for a lot of the farmers, and the vineyards are going to start getting busy, and the cherry people are finished now. But gosh, honestly, folks, if you see a tractor on the road, give him some room. You know, the guy will pull over. I'm sure he'll pull over and let you by when it's convenient, but I've seen so many close calls this year on Garnet Valley Road. It's been really scary, and I just think, you know, let's give a farmer a break and help them out. Like I say, if they got bins on the back or whatever, they'll pull over and let you buy it, you know, when it's convenient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Waterman.
No report.
Thank you. Councillor Robson.
Yes, the ice water drench was...
It was fun. It was fun.
It was invigorating, I gotta tell you. But you can see it, I think, on Facebook, is it?
No, you can see it actually on the District of Summerland website. You can actually, and on our District of Summerland Facebook, you can see it on both. It's painfully obvious that we
It was
got
painful.
It was painful. Anything else?
I have. Tuesday, the 2nd of September, Summerland Rotary Club paid tribute and gave recognition and showed our appreciation to the volunteers who drive and serve Meals on Wheels. Charlotte Burley, the coordinator, was also recognized for her organizational commitment and dedication to the Meals on Wheels. They are always in need of volunteers. Many hands make light work, and it is not overly onerous to commit to, so if you have some spare time, please contact Charlotte at 250-494-1173. Friday, September the 5th, Many may have observed the Cops for Kids parade through town. These RCMP members take a grueling 10-day ride through the Southeast District, fundraising for children who need assistance for items that our medical health services do not supply for children in need of the extras that make these conditions a little more, or their conditions a little more easier. The Penny Lane Charity Shop Society donated $500. The Summerland Rotary Club contributed $300, as well as individual contributions locally. Thomas Allen Budd, who is a foundation supporter, doubled our contribution, putting up $5,000 for the money raised between Kelowna and Penticton. You can go online and follow the Kelowna Cops for Kids on their journey through the Southeast District, which is the southeast part of our province. They'll go up through Cranbrook, Golden, Revelstoke, down to Kamloops, and back to Kelowna. They're presently, right now, I believe, in well, over in Trail area.
Thank you for being informed. Thank you very much. Anything else?
No,
That's
that's
it?
it, thank you.
Councilor Christopherson?
This past Wednesday, I was invited by Barry Harrison, one of our very conscientious transit drivers, to ride in his new bus. He is so excited about this bus because of the potential and the opportunity that it gives people that are really confined to a wheelchair. Because what this bus does, it actually kneels at the curb.
Yeah.
Walkway comes in.
Yeah.
And so it's possible now for people living in the senior village or anyone around town who's confined to a wheelchair to actually, take the, get to the bus, and go to Penticton and get off and do whatever shopping they want and then come back. Barry is so excited about this, he couldn't wait to show it off.
Good.
And on Saturday, I will assume my usual position again I have for the last 6 years of being the mayor's designated driver at the car show. I'm doing it.
The golf cart.
Not because she can't drive, but it's for the protection of the rest of the public.
I love it, I love it, I love it. Councillor Hacking.
I have no report this evening.
Okay, Councillor Alquist.
No report.
Okay, motion to adjourn, please. All those in favor? Meeting is officially adjourned.